It's out. All right. And all right. One sec. I just realized one thing. I had sound coming back off the other monitor.
Oh, wow.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you today?
How you doing?
We're all live now. So, hey guys, welcome to another podcast of toys, collecting, and unboxing. I've got a couple unboxings today, and one from June and one from the recent. Well, I can't say recent, but I mean Masters of the Universe, Mo2 as people like to call it. Just to make it short. But thank you for joining us here down in New Zealand. Um, I'm your guest, Aru. And guest, host, whatever, person at the other end of the screen. Thank you for joining us, and I'd like to welcome Big Stu back to our podcast because he's been amazing. He's sitting there in Borgia, Texas, manning his new store out there, 1.1 gigawatts. Gigawatts toys and
Call
nostalgia.
it gigawatts.
Of course, Ben Gigawatts, and of course Ben Bristol. I forgot where he's from, but he will tell us, of course, who is a huge Transformers collector and fan. Of course, you can't be a fan. Well, you can't be a collector without being a fan. So I've got a couple Bumblebees I want to show off, a little one and a big one, and we'll go on from there. So since you guys don't know Big Stu, you know Big Stu a little bit. I'll get him to speak later on to introduce himself. But first, let's get to know Ben. Ben, tell us give us a quick rundown about yourself.
I'm from Van Buren, Missouri, down in the foothills of the Ozarks, and I grew up here and lived here most of my life. I did travel some quite a bit. Right now, I work for Briggs & Stratton as a die-cast technician, which I don't know if a lot of people know. Briggs & Stratton make lawnmower engines, and which I don't actually build engines. I just make the parts for the engines. And I've been collecting Transformers for well over 15 years now. I had a small collection before, and my house burnt, and so we kind of had to start over again. And well, I kind of quadrupled what I had before now. So I've always been fascinated by Transformers, even when I was a young kid when they first come out in the 80s. Just always fascinated about having a car that turned into a robot. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like that's how we all got introduced, wasn't it? The Transformers the movie. So I mean, like that's how I got introduced. You got a free toy with it, and I think my dad just bought it for us for Christmas or something or birthday, but it was exciting. I think
Well,
it must have been like 84, or I'm not exactly
80,
sure when
83,
because
I believe. I
yeah,
can remember coming home from school one day. Me and my brother, I've got a brother that's a year older than me. And
mm,
we come home from school one day and sat down. And then all of a sudden, we always watch cartoons after school, we're sitting there. And all of a sudden, this show comes on. And it's these vehicles that turn into robots. And I was
yeah,
just mind blowing at the time. You didn't see quite, I'm sure GoBots come out like, I think they debuted 6 months before Transformers. But the
right.
stations that we got on our TV, we didn't get any of that. So I mean, it was a surprise to come in and see this cartoon show, and it
Mm.
was amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
It was always fascinating.
excuse me. Well, I mean, it was nothing like it before, was there? Like
No,
seriously, you had a car that changed. The only thing I could think of, and I might be wrong here. Now, did Automan come out before or after Transformers? Do you think? Because
what
I
was
think
that?
that's the only time I could think of Automan. That's the
Automan.
blue cop who could whose computer was who changes his. Let me just find the because I've just thought about this recently this past month, and I decided to watch it because it was such a cool thing that I had when I was a kid, and I thought, well, why don't I just watch it again, right, and see what it's about if I have the same love for it that I used to have when I was a kid. So Automan came out in '83, so around the same time. So let me see if I can share this here. I'll be able to um, show you this. There you go. So this is Automan, right?
Uh,
Do you guys remember watching Automan?
I remember briefly. It was something that probably it didn't last very long.
Yeah, it was like one of the shortest lived things around because like 12 months or something. And I
Oh
mean
yeah.
12 episodes. But this is the only time that I can think of where a a a tour like a bike changed into a car into a helicopter, right? So I found it was quite interesting in that sense. So if you've got this computer whiz, it was before its time. Seriously, way before its time. I don't think there's anything, if it was made today, it'd be like, it wouldn't be, it'd be like just anything else. But this is like '83, much like, much like Transformers, way before its time, I guess. But like it's allowed, what's that, 40 odd years to be here and, to be able to build a fandom, movies, TV shows, just a whole, comic books and everything. So this is about Autobot here, a computer generated superhero and his human creator fight crime in the city. So this is from Glenn Larson. Glenn Larson. I mean, you guys probably know more about, Glenn than I do. So, but yeah, so I thought that was quite interesting in the sense that, around the same time, these amazing, things came out, like Knight Rider came out of it as well. Around that time, you had the A-Team, such great shows just for kids,
Yeah,
Yet
you
it
have
wasn't, you didn't have to be a kid to watch it, enjoy it.
Yeah, you had that at that time. You had the Automan. I remember Automan. It lasted for one season. You had Knight Rider came out. I think this
Yeah,
'82. The A-Team. Then a little bit later, Airwolf, MacGyver. I mean,
yeah,
it was a great time to be a kid, man, and watching these
yeah.
adventure action shows.
It was all rounded, which is what I liked about it, because like there was like you didn't have to like not you weren't like I like this show and I'm not going to like anything else. It was like what else is there? Give me
Oh
what
yeah.
else.
Give me more.
And so you're like, oh, like I remember having to go to boarding school when my parents said to me, well, they won't let you watch TV after 7:30. And I got there and I was like, no, because before I got there, I was like, no, please, 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 no, 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 not right, Rider. I gotta watch Knight Rider. And yet when I got there, it was like, oh, you guys don't have to worry about it. You can go to 9:30. So you had all that stuff that what I enjoyed at home. I got to enjoy at Catholic boarding school, and really enjoyed it with my friends. We're basically you're captive, like prisoners in a place, and like you don't go home because you're all there. So you got to talk all the time about what you love, what you saw on TV, and there was no sort of like, okay, I got to go home now. But I think this whole magic about auto Transformers were just the idea that things could change, right? They didn't have to stick to just being a car. Now you went from car to being a jet to being a robot to being an animal, right? And I think the animals came later. You guys probably know more about them than I do.
Yeah,
Um,
the Beast Wars, I believe it started it was around 92.
okay,
No, it may have been later than that. 94, I believe.
right. So, Big Stu, tell us a bit about yourself for those who are watching for the first time, so we can get you on, so they can, get to learn a bit about you.
All right. My name is Big Stu. I'm here in Borger, Texas. I own 1.21 gigawatts comics, toys, and nostalgia. I'm originally from Orlando, Florida, and I'm a huge G.I. Joe collector, and I'm a huge action figure collector in general. And I just love everything nostalgic, really. I'm a huge movie buff. Seen a ton of movies. I actually even have a running discount in my store. If you can beat me in 80s movie trivia, you get 10% off of whatever you purchase. So haven't really had to use that discount, very much. So
Now I'm just gonna pop up your store on Facebook here so people can see.
okay.
Get to the link. Now I forgot to, we were going to sort this out about name-wise, but we haven't done it yet. But this is the link for the Facebook page for the store, and the store is called. We have it here, so you guys, I don't have to repeat it because I always get it wrong. And the way
1.21
we pronounce it. Yeah. So here we go. So 1.1 gigawatts, gigawatts, comics, toys, and nostalgia. And I'm sure when if Ben's down that way, he will drop in and say hello. Now that you guys are introduced to
Well,
each other.
it's nice to meet you, Ben. I'm Stu. So
It's not nice to meet you too.
Yeah,
I'm sure
man.
next time I go to see Hawk, I'll have to stop by for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Meeting across the states, as they say, whereas we're meeting across the world or countries. Well, across the world.
Oh yeah, across the world.
Oh, yeah.
You're on the other side of the world, aren't you?
Yeah, down at the bottom. You guys up there in the northern hemisphere, and we're in the southern hemisphere. A year and an hour and a day in the front, something like that. So
behind, we're an hour and a day behind you, and then we're in the summer, and you're in the winter.
Yeah, like I can see hoodie, skivvy, hat the heater on. I got my Batman, woolly socks on. Keep me warm. Now let's talk about I think there's this whole. I mean, I don't think you can go anywhere in the world and not know what a transformer is, right? So this guy here, I swapped these with video games for this one in about 2014 with a solid dad. His son, when I was living there, had a whole bunch of stuff, and ended up with that. I wasn't into I wasn't into it, you know, because I wasn't into collecting toys hard out that time. But the kid wanted the joystick, and I wasn't using it. Like it's one of those, you know, those ones where you have you know, real lots of buttons for PC, and he was a big gamer at that time, and he was like, you know, it's only about 12 or something, and I said, look, just give me $20, because it cost me 120 for the joystick, and I said, you know, whatever you want to put. I guess, oh, I'll put this, I'll put this. I said, look, whatever. And then, yeah, so I ended up with a toy, and it's probably the best, you know, deal that I can be happy with because now I'm into collecting toys. But for me, you know, I could either take it or leave it when it comes to Transformers. But being a kid who, you know, like in '84, it was for you guys it was '83, right? But for us, it was about a year later by the time it got to us. So by the time it got to us, it was already a big thing overseas, and especially I guess in America and in Japan. But we didn't get to see it until the Transformers the movie came out, and they gave the VHS away with a toy. So you actually end up, you know, so we got a pack. So you had the VHS, and you had like I think it was Optimus Prime or something that came with it. And my dad went, and I'm like, okay, but I love the movie more than I love the toy. It was like just the fact that, you know, it was just like changing things and stuff like that. So what was your guys' experience with, you know, seeing it first? You know, Ben mentioned a bit about it, but let's go a bit more into it.
So the first time that I ever actually watched Transformers the movie was probably about 5 years ago.
Right.
The very first time I actually watched the cartoon animated movie was probably about 5 years ago. I'm a huge G.I. Joe fan. I'm, you know, Ben and I are on different sides of the coin, you know, so to speak. So when I watched it with first time I watched it with adult eyes, which I shouldn't have. I should have watched it with kid eyes, you know, and you know, so my first impression was not great. But now since then I've watched it a few more times, and I can see where it is you know, kids would love it, you know, especially where it would be an impactful movie, you know, back in 1985, 86 when it came out.
Well, the whole thing about the movie was, is we had like 2 or 3 years there where we actually got to live with the characters, you know, see the characters every day after school on the weekends, you know, and so when the movie came out, it's like, oh my God, they made a movie, you know. And of course, my mom and dad did not let me go to the theater to see it. I begged and begged. Me and my brother both begged, and it just didn't happen. So we got to see it about 6 months later on TV. I think on HBO it was released, and I about died when Optimus Prime died.
Yeah. Now, thinking about Optimus Prime dying, would it be like the same as Aslan dying for you in Narnia?
Say it one more time.
Would Optimus Ben, if Optimus Prime dying in that movie be the same as Aslan dying for us kids who were into Narnia, The Witch and the in that series, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? Do you think it was the same sort of thing? The sacrifice?
Oh, probably. It just, I don't know. The thing with me in my mind is, oh my God, what are they going to do? Their leader is gone. You know this.
Yeah.
You know the whole concept, especially with G.I. Joe and Transformers, was you had good versus evil, and good always prevailed. Right. Well, good just died. The backbone of the Autobots. You know he's gone. So yeah, it was quite devastating. I mean, any figure that you would consider, you know, I don't know if you consider your idol or whatever, but the hero, the major hero, whatever dies, it's always devastating.
And it wasn't just Optimus Prime that died in that opening sequence.
Oh, there was
several Autobots that bit the dust, and you know,
most of the Series 1 Transformer figures they cleared the slate so they could release new figures.
Right.
Now,
so
did the TV series come first, then the movie, or was it the other way around?
They made two seasons. I think it was like 70 or 90 episodes. And then they come out with the movie, and then they had a season 3, and then they had a season 4, but it only lasted 4 episodes.
Okay.
And at the end of season 3, of course, they brought Optimus Prime back. So, because there was just such a falling out on it all together. There's a lot of people that just so upset. So they brought him back, to try to appease people.
It was such a falling out. It affected the story arc in G.I. Joe the movie.
Yeah, originally they had because talking with Hawk, he always likes to fill me in on this stuff. Big G.I. Joe collector too. They had originally scheduled to kill Duke off in the original cartoon or the original movie for G.I. Joe. So basically, Hasbro, when it came to the Transformers division, they said, "Here, hold my beer. We're going to do Optimus Prime." And for some scheduling region or whatever, Transformers was released before G.I. Joe. So as soon as they saw the backlash on Optimus Prime dying, they just put the skids on Duke and just mortally wounded him until the end of the movie.
But I contend because G.I. Joe had done the one thing that G.I. Joe had done differently than Transformers, from what I could tell, is that they created a leader structure almost every year. Every year you followed a different leader. So when we got to the movie, a lot of my friends would have been okay with Duke dying off, because we knew that we had another leader that was back, that was going to be, that we were going to follow, that we liked just as much. It would have been, it'd have been shocking still, but not quite as shocking as like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Because Transformers had the one backbone that was always constantly there, where the stories revolved around him.
So you're talking about this one here, right?
That's
or is it the one after this?
That's the series. It looks like that's the series. But okay. I can't tell.
So it came up on 84, so I thought that might be it. But
yeah, that's the TV series that you got pulled up.
Yeah,
you should type in G.I. Joe movie.
Didn't they originally start G.I. Joe with like a couple movies before they actually went into the series? Like
they did like five-part arcs that they did, and then that's how they did that, and then
okay.
And I think the first one was in 80. I think the first 5-part series was in 83 or 84.
I was thinking it was 82.
But I'm not this one. Would it be the G.I. Joe, a real American hero, or is it Cobra
the
Revenge?
Mass Device?
Mass Device. Okay.
Yeah, the G.I. Joe, the Mass Device was probably the first one. Then Revenge of Cobra. Right here, the first one right there is the that says 1987.
It was
just underneath the thing. That's the G.I. Joe the movie. That's the actual movie.
Okay,
that's the movie we're talking about. And they basically had the scene where Duke dies, but they dubbed over it that he was in a coma. He fell into a coma. Like they could diagnose that right there on the battlefield.
Yeah. So I mean, but that's quite interesting because like. I think this is course correcting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of time people, like we've seen in recently, Disney doesn't course correct. They just keep piling ahead, right? Even like with something like even with HBO, they don't, Warner's, they don't course correct. But like they've been like, you think like, okay, it's going the wrong way. Okay, the fans are, the kids are out there going, they don't want to see death again. And if we go and kill Duke now, we're going to have a major backlash. That's 2 toy lines where some major character is, passing away, and you're going to traumatize kids. And I think, this is something that seems that like is lost on so-called modern audience studios. That whole, we're creating for the modern audience, but here you've got something that they did to course correct without destroying themselves.
Right.
It's like, okay, Optimus Prime died, a whole bunch of others died. Kids reacted really badly. Now, if we do this, this is going to harm our brand.
Right. Well, the thing with Transformers, I think where they made a mistake is they should have introduced Hot Rod before, got us used to the character, and then kind of had him in not a leadership role, but a main role. So whenever we watched the movie, it wouldn't have been so devastating. Kind of like he was talking, Big Stu was talking about, every year they had other people coming up the ranks of G.I. Joe in commanding positions. If they would have did that with Transformers, it would have probably have been a lot easier to swallow at the time.
Yeah. I wonder if like, what would have been the case if they did do it? Would we still be in love with, G.I. Joe? If the kids would still be, or would it be like not so,
I contend that if G.I. Joe would have come out first when it was originally scheduled, if it was the movie that we had, and they killed off Duke, I think we would have we wouldn't be talking about them retconning Transformers. I think they'd be like, oh yeah, okay, let's go ahead and kill off Optimus Prime, and we'd be talking about the how it affected kids, when Optimus Prime died versus how kids were affected when Duke died. Because then the first series that they came out, Duke was the leader, and then Flint came out, and all of the stories were about Flint, were Flint led, and then the third season was a combination of Sergeant Slaughter, Beachhead, Hawk. I mean, those were all led those stories. So when the movie came out, we had 4 leaders that we were all good. We're like, we all followed, and everybody was like, yeah, we like these guys. So them introducing Falcon as a new potential leader to G.I. Joe, we were like, that's par for the course. That's how it goes for the G.I. Joe franchise. Now, I don't know how many different characters were introduced every year for Transformers versus G.I. Joe, but almost every year in G.I. Joe, there was probably another 10 or 12 characters introduced every year. Different characters, G.I. Joe and Cobra. So, the whole idea of having a different leader show up for your G.I. Joes was old hat for us.
Could it be because G.I. Joe was going for more of a realism army, setup, having units, having commanders and all that. People do die and, going to war and stuff.
I do think that had something into effect as well, because a lot of the kids that were watching the G.I. Joe cartoon were reading the comic books, and in the comic books they were dealing with death. Every episode or every issue, somebody was getting killed or whatnot. Maybe not be a named G.I. Joe. It was definitely not a named G.I. Joe, but a character that they introduced in the comic book that was important in the comic book sense. So, their tolerance level was a little, they were a little bit more prepared for it than the kids that were watching Transformers.
That's kind of oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you carry on, and we'll get back to my question.
I was going to say, it's kind of like he was talking about the comic book stuff, and I'd watch the comic books actually come out before the series did with Transformers, and it was a totally different concept on the comic books, because like he was talking about with G.I. Joe, somebody was dying. Well, the same way with the comic books on Transformers, there was a lot of them dying off here and there, getting killed and all that. So, I mean, if I probably would have at the time been reading the comic books while watching the cartoon series, it probably wouldn't have been as bad to see that in the movie. But I didn't start getting the comic books till after the movie came out.
Right.
So,
because
it was
like
about
a lot of
the time
time
they started. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, because a lot of time you don't know the comics are out there unless you're going to the comic store all the time, and a lot of kids didn't. I guess not every child knows that's where things are happening. That a comic store has got has got an adaptation, or it's based on a comic book or so on. Like even now, people don't know a lot of things that are coming out on the movies and TV is from comic books, right? And the damage there is that those shows aren't telling people, go and check this out at the comic store, right? Go check it out. This is the book it's based on, and so on. Sometimes they just go, created by such and such, and that's about it. And I think that's the damage that's what's failed the comic store, as far as I can see, is that they've got this multi-billion-dollar franchises, right, that hasn't paid homage to where the original,
Yeah, where it's come from.
IPs come from. Yeah.
Yeah.
Carry on, Ben.
I had a neighbor a few years ago who just trashed me about reading comic books. He was a good guy. He's just giving me a hard time, but not nothing serious. But anyway, he's like, yeah, I'm going to go see a movie tonight. I said, yeah, what movie are you going to go see? He says, I'm going to go see History of Violence. It's a really good movie. I said, yeah, it's a really good movie based on a comic book. He's like, no, it's not. I'm like, yeah, it is. It's definitely based off of a comic book. And I listed like 5 movies that he liked that were all based off of, graphic novels, comic books that he didn't realize. I'm like, so don't dog comic books. They've been in the movie industry for a lot longer than people really realize. They just
Well, the comic books from today are a lot different than they were, say, back in the 60s and 70s. There might as well be books, or because there's always adult aspects to the comic books nowadays, and what they were. They're not campy and however you want to put it, from like when we were kids. They're more adult aimed now. So I mean, it just makes sense that let's make movies out of them.
Oh yeah.
But comics have always had a maturity to them, depending on what series they're about. Like, I've been talking recently, this past week, to John Del Arroz, who's a writer, novelist, as well as a comic book creator. And he was just, I think we were talking about how X-Men in the late 80s with the Claremont run comic book series, right? But it wasn't dumbed down for children, and it wasn't like too far up, mature that kids couldn't read it. And so when they transferred that to the X-Men animated series, they didn't do the same thing. They kept that same middle ground of not being too mature and not being too childish. And it's become a phenomenon. Like, nobody can say the X-Men didn't affect society the way, this animated series, like G.I. Joe and like Transformers, that's right up there. But now, of course, they play around with it and ruin the franchise to when people don't even care about buying the comic book. So let's talk about what was it like growing up? Like, you guys seem to have a more, you remember a lot from that time period. I don't, because I've had quite a few head injuries, and so I forget what was like to be at that age and enjoying, watching these things at that time. So let's talk about that. I mean, like, what was it about this show that really, we've dropped in it here and there, but like that really got you guys really interested in, especially Ben, like, with Transformers?
Well, I mean, it was just, as being a young kid in the late 70s, early 80s, we had cartoons like Inspector Gadget, which is fine cartoons, Inspector Gadget, and you had Scooby-Doo, and it goes back to kind of talking about like the campy aspect and everything. But then you have these cartoons like G.I. Joe and Transformers that come out, and even Jim and all that. We have this realistic aspect. It's like you were talking earlier. It's something that you could actually see that could be real. And so the concept of everything just kind of grasps your attention. And it's like, oh my God, this is just so amazing. You would never seen anything like that before. And it was something new. And they could be serious. They could be comical. It wasn't always just some, like I said, campy cartoon series. These were kind of realistic. You had realistic problems. And then, like I said, you always had good versus evil, and good always prevailed. It was just an amazing time. And, you even had like the Thundercats and stuff, and He-Man all just came out at the same time. There's something just magical about the whole experience as a kid. You just didn't have that before. You had all these new toys and the toys and the cartoons and stuff coming out. You could actually grab your favorite figure, as you can see, and it's like, oh, you can go over to your buddy's house and you could have a battle, and then you'd sit down and watch the cartoon series, and then it was just something captivating about it. It was nothing else like it until, you know, all this stuff just kind of, it just all at once just kind of hits you. All these different cartoon series. And I mean, you could just spend hours if you had the satellite back then, you could just spend hours watching all these different shows and stuff. And it was just, like I said, mesmerizing.
Yeah.
There was something magical about it.
And I remember, you know, coming home from school and I would grab my GI Joes. I'd bring them out to. We had in Orlando, Florida. We had this place, little room we called it a Florida room. It was like had a bunch of windows. You could see outside, a lot of sunlight coming in, and that was where my TV was, the TV that the kids were able to watch. And being that I was the only kid at home at that time, I'd get all my GI Joes over there and I'd set them. You know, I'd set them out in front of me on the floor or whatever, and watching GI Joe as I'd watch Transformers Jim and then G.I. Joe. And when Jim and the holograms and Transformers were on, I was really intent on playing with my G.I. Joes, doing that adventure, just kind of halfway listening and watching to the show. And then when G.I. Joe came on, man, I was glued. I was glued. And a lot of times whatever character that they were centered around on that show, that was the figure that I had in my hand, you know, as I watched the show and, you know, playing with that figure, you know. So, I mean, that was a beautiful time, you know, and because it was just so, I wasn't getting into any trouble. I wasn't, you know, doing anything bad. Wasn't hurting anybody. I was just trapped with my imagination and watching this show. I was, you know,
he was in the zone.
I was in the zone. I was in the zone. Didn't worry about the world.
So I remember, like, I mean, for me, like, I didn't have figures. Like, I got like gaming, like, you know, like Rubik's cubes and stuff like that, and you know, Tommytron, and I think I've got a Shark Attack Tommy video game thing you look into, but the figures, like my neighbor had, like, you know, the He-Man thing, so he was into the He-Man. His sister, right, the young girl, she had the Tila stuff, from what I remember, and so there was so many of them. Like the dad was, I think, if I remember right, he was the executive at the place my dad worked at, right? So his dad was a bit more affluent money wise, and you know, and so he was just getting whatever he wanted of whatever, you know, and his whole thing was He-Man. But I think He-Man at that point had come out, what, about like a year earlier than Transformers, and so it was like this. You're almost being geared towards owning the characters that you saw on TV by that point. Do you, like, with you guys knowing a bit more about that, do you know a bit more about the history, like between the years when the toys suddenly became a big thing in the US with cartoons and stuff like that?
So, from what I remember, 1981 is when He-Man and the Masters of the Universe came out. And then really close after that was G.I. Joe in 82, and then 83 or 84, I can't remember, on Transformers. But did the Transformers come out in 82 or did they come out in 83, Ben?
Well, the comic book come out, I believe, in 82, the end of 82. And from what I understand, Hasbro, if you look at a lot of the original toys, they are stamped 82. Okay. So they started bringing the toys in 82, and then they did the comic book for them in 82, I believe. And then it's like, from what I understand, they had some kind of trade agreement with the toys and stuff. So Hasbro had to scramble around and make a series, or they were going to be fined. So they had to come up with a cartoon. So that's whenever they put Transformers in development, and it was released, I believe, in 83.
Okay.
The series.
Yeah. Yeah, and then so for me, my first foray into the action figure world was He-Man. Well, was actually Star Wars. The Empire Strikes Back was huge for me, but I could not stand the articulation. Even at 5 years old, I couldn't stand the 5 points of articulation. I hated it.
That was always my thing with He-Man, because
Yeah.
his arms would go up and down and his legs would go out, and that was it.
Yeah, and I went to He-Man for a little while because I was a huge fan of Conan the Barbarian. My mom actually took me to go see Conan the Barbarian. My mom taking me to a rated R movie that blood and guts all over the place, but I was a big fan of.
They did that with Rambo. Rambo was a pretty gory movie, and all of a sudden, here's all these Rambo toys with guns and vehicles and stuff.
But
and the animated series as well.
Yeah.
And so when I got into G.I. Joe, there was a ninja character that I wanted, ninja action figure that some of the kids at the school had, and I wanted them, man. I'm like, oh man, I got to get that figure. That's the only figure I'll get for G.I. Joe. Asked my dad to go get them. He went around because at the time we were living in Alaska, and he went to every toy shop that he could find in Alaska while he was working that day to find this action figure for me. He found it. Brought me Storm Shadow. That was the first real action figure G.I. Joe action figure I had. And I opened it up and I'm like, I don't care about G.I. Joe anymore. I don't care about G.I. Joe. I don't care about Star Wars. I don't care about Masters of the Universe anymore. I don't care about Star Wars. I don't care about my GoBots that I had. I had GoBots. I don't care about any of those things anymore. This is what I want. This is what I'm going for. And one of the big reasons I never got into Transformers is because they were not the same scale as G.I. Joe. So it didn't make sense for me to have a transforming car that wasn't much bigger than my G.I. Joe action figure was, proportionate wise, and especially when I had vehicles that were running around that were bigger than the Transformers. So it was that's my play pattern my little mind couldn't accept that difference in size, So, but but I loved, and that's how I got into the G.I. Joe, playing with G.I. Joes, and watching the TV series. What got you into it, Ben?
We were talking about like GoBots came first. Can we talk about GoBots? Because I kind of know a bit, but not much at all, because that was a predecessor to Transformers, wasn't it?
Ben, can you hear us?
Yeah, I think he's got a muted when he answered the phone.
So from what I understand is Transformers and GoBots.
I kind of got lost there. What's going on?
Okay. I think it had to do with your phone when you answered before, like your text message. Before. Yeah. So we just carry on.
Talking about GoBots and Transformers, and from what I remember,
I still haven't got Stu back on.
Oh, you don't have me on yet? But there was a race to get them out into the market, and GoBots just beat Transformers just by a few months. So I had GoBots first, and I thought that GoBots was going to be the transforming toy of the century, but then Transformers came out and totally crushed GoBots.
Right. So is it this one here? Like, is this like what we're talking about here, movie wise, or did the movie come out first, or was it a TV show that came out first? This is '84. We're looking at here with the GoBots.
Yeah, it was just the TV series. So the TV series usually came out a year or two after the toys came out.
Right. So GoBots are loosely based on a Tonka toy line. Yeah. So with of course with Transformers, it's the Hasbro toy line, isn't it? Or am I wrong there?
Right.
Mattel? Right. So Tonka really kind of think they went, maybe if they'd won out on this one, they might have been quite a big name in this side of things rather than into like the construction toys. Tonka over here is known as like construction trucks, like the big huge yellow trucks. That's I wouldn't have thought they would be part of the GoBots at all.
Right. Well, there was talks about that they were a lot easier to transform. The GoBots were, and there's talk about like if they would have been a little bit more serious about that line, it could have been a big competitor for Transformers at the time.
Right.
Yeah, I think a lot of it had to do with marketing too.
Yeah.
So was Transformers the movie shown on the big screen?
Yes, it was.
Right. And what did GoBots ever show that on the big screen?
I don't think it was. I don't think they did a movie for GoBots. I think they just did the TV series.
Well, from what I understand, when Transformers come out, it GoBots come out first, and it was doing really well, and then Transformers come out, and I mean, it just sapped GoBots, and it carried on for a little while, but they just didn't have the budget that Transformers got with the toys and everything. So
right.
I don't think they were able. I think they just eventually just dropped it because they just couldn't go anywhere with it after Transformers come out.
That's about the toy line. Yeah.
I wonder if they had the budget to make a movie that they could have had, like, at least on par with competing with Transformers, because I think there is that element where you kind of, if it's a TV show on TV all the time, you kind of think, oh yeah, it's on all the time, and you get, just a kids thing. But if you have to take your child to a movie, it kind of has this elevation of that property, because no longer is it just Saturday morning cartoon type thing, but it's actually where you can actually take your children to watch it, sit there with them and watch it together. And then you realize, there's things you can explain and so forth. There's actually dialogue you can have. And that actually makes you as an adult, as a parent, invested in it as well, or as a guardian invested into the toys as well as a show. And then when you go by and you understand, hey, now I get why he's into it or why she's into it. And you kind of have that understanding between why why the child wants that for Christmas, or why it wants it for birthday and stuff. And I think maybe that was something that I think my dad must have realized by getting us a deep video, because I never asked for it that I can think of. They say, this is what I want. He just basically thought it's a movie and a toy. That's great. He could have the toy and she could have the movie to watch, And I remember my sister and I, we just were sitting there watching the movie all the time. I can't remember how many times I watched it, but I've watched it so many times. Even so that I'm actually, recently I made sure I bought me a DVD for my collection out of it, for my collection of the movie, and it's like, it's something, and it's a lot of, like, I kind of, I'm understanding one, Stu calls it nostalgia, because it's not just being a fan. It's there's a part of it that you are being a fan of something, but you're also nostalgic about the past. But it's also because you also get to now have the money to buy the things you never could buy, when you were a kid, and all your parents couldn't afford to, because not everybody has the money as a parent to give their children whatever they want or whatever's popular at that time. And I know I didn't get a lot of things that were popular at the time. We had somebody else outside of the family who would do it, who was quite, well off, and we'd get to receive our most popular toys that way. But give us a bit more rundown on the characters to do with Transformers. Ben,
that's all you
get some toys.
Well, are you talking about just the demeanor, or just the characters themselves, or
all of the above? Just what made them so so important to you as a kid growing up and saying, yeah, this is for me, like Big Stu said, GI Joe's for me now, and everything else has to go on the sideline. But yeah, for yourself, what was about Transformers that really hooked you?
Well, you had this big semi truck, and of course he was the leader, and then you had all the other Transformers. You had just different variety of cars. Stuff, me growing up in Southeast Missouri, you didn't see these cars on the road. Probably the biggest sports car we saw around here was a 280Z Nissan or Datsun car. But you got to see all these exotic vehicles, and then it just it let your imagination run wild. And then as far as like the Decepticons, you had Megatron, and I really hate how they demonize guns and stuff. But you had Megatron, who was a P-38 Walter P-38, which was it's just so neat, because at the time when I was a kid, we still play Cowboys and Indians. So you have
Yeah.
this gun, and then we're all out. And of course, when Galvatron came out, he made noises. So that was fantastic because he was a cannon, then he was a gun, and then you had it was Astro Magnum, but Hasbro got the license for it and became Shockwave, and he was a futuristic pistol. So I mean, like I said, we all still played Cowboys and Indians and stuff. So I mean, it was so interactive. But it's just the characters, and then each character had their own persona.
Right.
Like you had Jazz, which was a Porsche 911, and it's like, oh, you just didn't see those around here. And then he had Scatman Crothers who voiced him, and it was just so cool to hear him. He just automatically you're drawn to him. He's like, oh, this is a favorite character. Then you had Bumblebee, which was a Volkswagen Bug, and he just had so much heart. He was just such.
Of course, they've changed over time, but like, the Bumblebee was something special, wasn't it? Like, I don't know, it always got me because
he was always a fan favorite.
Yeah. So, carry on.
And then you had Cliff Jumper, which was I don't know if he was supposed to be a little Toyota car of some kind, but him and Bumblebee looked alike in the original series. There's little differences, but he was more of a gritty Bumblebee. He was ready to jump in and fight anybody 3 times his size, and it's so interesting. But each character had such a broad personality, and it was always so interesting. So it's kind of like whenever the movie came out and you had Hot Rod, and here you have this cocky young Transformer, and it's one of those things. Even though he got Optimus Prime killed, you couldn't help but I was like, oh, he just so much enthusiasm. And then I think it kind of hurt whenever he became leader, and he's like, when you're watching the 3rd season, and he's always woes me, and I don't know if I can do this. He's always worrying. But you had the character when he was Hot Rod that he was like, let's go, let's get it done. He's just, oh, go for it. And then as a leader, he was something less to be desired.
Yeah.
So, but all the characters, they just all had, there was no monotone to them. They were all just distinctive. So that's what it made that so interesting, because it was never dull, because like I said, each one had their own personality, and they were just so broad in their aspects. So
and it shows that how important it is to have some sort of a media view, something on media to push the toy. If you didn't have the Transformers with all the different characters in Transformers or G.I. Joe, it would have been a fleeting toy that would last maybe a year or 2 years. I mean, at the time, a toy franchise was expected to last like 2 years. Right. Barbie and Hot Wheels was one of the only ones that were really had staying power. But they were expecting maybe 2 years to last. And
but I think that's one of the mistakes that Hasbro had made, is like, oh, we need to make room for new characters, so let's kill off these other characters. Yeah. Me as a kid, whenever they started killing characters, of course you couldn't buy them anymore. When they took them off the shelf, they put the new ones on, and you're like, well, I still want a Megatron, I still want an Optimus Prime, I still want a Jazz or Wheeljack. And then, I couldn't get them then, and it was so upsetting, And then you got the new figures, and the new figures weren't as articulate in movement as the original G1s were. Of course, the original G1 were all based off Diaclone figures from Japan,
right?
But it's like, I remember getting my hands on a Rodimus Prime. I'm like, basically, you just folded his body over, and he was a truck. And whereas you had Optimus Prime, and you folded his arms out, and you had a lot more movement with him. And so, I mean, and then like Blur and Cup, they were just very simple. You just popped them up, and they were done.
Right.
And it's like, well, that wasn't as fun as the old ones or the original ones were. But you still had a lot more imagination with them.
Do you think they did that mostly for the parents? You know,
It could be. That was always my thing. When I get a new Transformer, I would open the box. I wouldn't even look at the directions. I wanted to see if I could transform it without looking at the directions. And me and my brother both was the same way. So we were sitting there because every Christmas, every birthday, we would get one, and he'd have his and I'd have mine. Of course, they were different characters. And we were sitting there to see if we could transform. And then when we got done, we'd switch.
nice.
And I would do his and he would do mine. And so that just hours of fun there.
Hell yeah.
I was just wondering about, like, you mentioned Diaclones. Is that the right spelling there, or what is that?
Diaclone.
Diaclone.
Okay, you have Tommy Tomei, which is the original owners of Transformers, basically. But in Japan, they come out in the late 70s, and the figures they had, were basically Transformers. They had 2 or 3 different lines. They had the jets, they had the vehicles, and there was another one I can't remember right now. And Hasbro saw this going on. They were real popular in Japan. Hasbro saw this going on and said, "Hey, Tommy Tomei, let's do a partnership here. I want to bring your toys over to the U.S." So basically, they repainted them and made them Transformers and sold them in the U.S. And then Transformers was so popular that they went around buying up other figures that transformed, like I was talking about Astro Magnum Man or Galaxy Man from Radio Shack. They actually bought that and turned that into Shockwave. And then there was Omega Supreme, and it come from another company, and I can't exactly remember the name of it right now. And they bought it to introduce into the Transformers line. But the main key figures were from Tommy Tomei from Japan, and they just partnered with Hasbro and brought them to the U.S. So, and they were all originally known as Diaclones there. Now, if you can get your hands on a Diaclone figure, they're worth quite considerably more than a Transformer, even a Series 1 G1 Transformer. So, which I don't have any Diaclones, but I do have a lot of original G1 figures. Optimus Prime.
This is the Diaclone here. So this is from the wiki for that page. It's quite a, you can look. It looks basically kind of like Optimus, but not Optimus. It's got like a. Or does it look like a jet? Does it look like Jetstream?
Not for sure. He's a little bit different. But the actual figures, if you do look them up, like Ultra Magnus, he was red and blue instead of red, white, and blue like he is in the U.S. And even Optimus Prime was a little bit different colored. So that's where the die-cast part come from, because it was Diaclone, because they were part die-cast. And they kept the die-cast on him even when they shipped him to the U.S. as Transformers. That's why Optimus Prime, the front of his cab is die-cast. And Starscream's chest is die-cast. It's because they were all part of the Diaclone series.
So these guys, like, when they bought, was it like a brother? Was it like a 2 brothers or something like that? You mentioned that these guys are the ones who brought them over to the US and then renamed them as Transformers.
Right.
Now, who were they part of some studio or company that they could afford to do this?
Well, Hasbro was still a pretty young company, and they weren't a multi-billion-dollar company like they are now.
Right.
They were popular. They had a lot of popular toys. I think they were more known for board games originally than they were for the action figures. And they decided they wanted a piece of the pie, basically. And they saw these toys over in Japan. So they just basically called Tommy Tomei up and said, "Hey, we would like to bring them to the U.S." So they partnered with them and went in with them like 50-50 or whatever. So basically Tommy Tomei backed them and let them send the figures over here to sell them as Transformers. And then they actually carried back over to Japan, because after the series ended here, they had several cartoon series off of the G1 Transformer cartoons that carried on way in the later years. So basically, I think because Tommy Tomei was a well-known company there in Japan, and they had such success with it, they were all for it. So they were definitely willing to. See on the picture there, if you look, you got Jazz and which would be the red one. I think would be Sunstreaker, but they're all different paints. Or those original Transformers, I think. But like the Ultra Magnus over there in the corner, that's an original Diaclone, and he's a different paint. So,
right.
But they were so popular there, they just like, well, let's we're going to go ahead and go with Hasbro and back them on this deal, and so they sent it all over here, and both of them made bunches of money off of it.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah. So I was messing around. This came in actually this week. I don't know who this guy is.
That is I'm trying to think. I've got him up here. It's Silverbolt. I can't think of his name right now. My mind's blank. There's so many different names trying to keep up with. He's part of the Aerial Bots. He's the leader of the Aerial Bots.
Okay.
He's a combiner.
Oh, is he a combiner?
Yeah, I've got I've got
that
I
figure,
but I actually have. If you look up here in the corner, I actually have a third party, and that's what he looks like as a combiner.
So is this a G1 as well, or no?
That is a G1.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. He should have a piece of die cast on him somewhere.
Is that him there, the bottom right?
The bottom right?
Yeah, on the image there. In the
It
gray.
might be him.
Yeah, the bottom right. Yeah, that's. I'm trying to remember his name. I think it's Silver. Is it not Silverbolt?
I have no idea.
I wanted to say Silverbolt, but I just my mind's went blank.
Yeah, he's missing a leg. That's the only that's the piece that's missing. I don't know if he came with other stuff or not, but I can't even figure out how to get the leg out.
Do you want to hold it up so we can see it?
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me just get you onto solo.
Yeah, he's missing a leg.
Yeah.
That's
some battle damage.
Yeah, I think there's the back plate on him somewhere is die cast. There should be.
So his main body seems like it's die cast, painted die cast.
Right.
The main body portion of him. Everything else is plastic.
So by die cast we mean metal, right?
Metal, yes. It's a variation of aluminum, zinc, and different things. Kind of they could call it pop metal, but they back in the day it wasn't a real toy unless it was had metal on it. It was die cast. If you didn't have die cast, it was considered junk. That's the reason why they was so important when they brought them over here that they kept the die cast aspect on them.
Right.
So
because otherwise it's just plastic, and it's
right.
There is an aspect if it's plastic, it kind of feels like it's cheaper.
Yeah, the mindset, especially after like World War II and everything, is here in the U.S. is like, oh, it's plastic's junk. Because, they still made cars were all steel. The bumpers were steel, everything. So if you didn't have an aspect of metal on that toy, it was considered garbage.
Right.
So that was it was so important. That's why it was so important to have that aspect of die cast on those toys. It's like, hey, these are quality, and it was a selling point for a lot of toy manufacturers.
Yeah, I can't get his foot out, but trying to get that stinking foot out, but
all right, so we are actually joined by someone who actually worked, has been, was been, is with, and does stuff with Hasbro, and that's Hawk Sanders here. Welcome aboard, Hawk. Hopefully you're not muted or anything. Can you hear us?
Hey, Bobo, what's up?
Hey, what's up?
We got Big Stu in the house too.
Do what?
Throw it down.
This show's getting bigger and bigger every year. Every
episode. That's right. Bringing in all my friends.
Yeah. Now to iterate.
That toy came in from a really bad place. I have to put some cleaner on my hand.
But
I was like,
But to
It was
iterate,
in somebody's
I
attic
just
for a
want to make
long time.
I just
So
want to make
we
a point.
don't want to quite know where that shipped from, huh?
You might want to bring
Is
your
that what
screen
you're
a bit
saying?
closer, buddy. Hawk. Yeah, zoom your like come closer to the screen or something.
Oh,
Yeah, Hawk's got a special juice today.
I get as always my special juice. This is a sunrise. Is what I'm having tonight.
Nice.
Right.
Nice. I'm
Okay, so
enjoying Coke Zero.
This is
Yeah.
smells like coconut rum in there.
Coke Zero. It tastes kind of like Diet Coke, but not quite like Diet Coke, and not quite like real Coke.
Well, I'm drinking tea, so
There you go.
I've got espresso. I mean a latte, whatever. But I also have a Red Bull for kick up later on if I start feeling a bit down, get some wings going on. Now, we're talking about Transformers. We've been talking about the characters. We talk about differences. Now we get on to the actual manufacturing side of things. Now, with the knowledge about Hasbro, with Hawk, do you want to give us a bit of history on how, like I was going to call him Bobo. That's because I actually have a short story that's coming out as part of our Robot Nations two short story book, and one of them's called The Trouble with Bobo. So, right?
Oh, there's a lot of trouble with Bobo. There's a lot of trouble with Bobo.
Yeah. So that's kind of got me there. But so, do you want to talk about that a bit there, Hawk?
I went to Otis College of Art and Design, which is, most people know that as Otis Parsons. And I got my degree in toy design, is where I got it, out of Los Angeles. So I worked for Leonard Toys, was my first. No. I worked for Hot Buttered Elves first as an internship. And then I did Leonard Toys as my second internship. And eventually I went back and worked for Leonard Toys underneath Blake Nichols. And I worked on the Leonard toy lines that they had running at the time. And most people know those as kind of like knockoffs of the big brands, is what it is. But they had actually begun to establish their own market, for everything set up. And eventually I kind of made my way around all of the toy places, and including Disney. And while I was at Hot Buttered Elves, I got to work on some Hasbro product and some Mattel product, and eventually ended up at Mattel underneath the Hot Wheels brand as the senior playset designer for Monster Jam. And from there I went to Pillow Pets, and then it's a lot of freelance off and on different things. So I think what a lot of people don't realize is that this is you talk about the way the product is made and how it's set up. There's a lot of engineering that goes into it. It's not a quick process. Even with the way the things are set up today, it's still not a quick process. And when you're mass producing product, it takes time. So it's usually about a year or more to get a product done. There's a lot of intricate parts that have to be thought out and engineered as well as designed. And each one of those is a different person that's stepping in, as well as a brand manager, to make sure that you're on key if you're working on a licensed product. And, so there's a lot of things, a lot of factors that are moving at all times before that product gets to the shelf. And then even after it gets to the shelf, there's still, marketing and everything else that's still in motion as you may be in production of those lines. Now, the plus side of toy making is that mold making and production has gotten easier today than it was 30 years ago. 30 years ago, it was a monumentous feat, to get this produced in China. And a lot of the molds had, for our favorite toys coming out of the 80s have long been destroyed, in order to make new product. They usually, if no one claims them or picks them up, and depending on the factory, sometimes they'll grind them and melt them down and make a new mold from them. So there's a lot of mishap that happened with all those original parts, and finding if you even still have an original mold that's any good at this point, 30 years later, is a big thing as well. So now it's much easier with 3D printing and all the processes and which can shave off a lot of time. I wouldn't be surprised if the G1 transformers were probably 2 years or more in production, back in 83, 82. They were
A
probably in
lot of
production.
they just took the molds from Japan on those, so they were
Yeah.
ready to go. So they were just
The robot, they had taken a lot of Robotech, and what was it? There was another line, Micro. What was
the
that?
Micronauts line.
Yeah, Micronauts line. They took it from the Micronauts.
Transformers actually a spinoff of Micronauts. The actual storyline is.
But so some of that stuff was already ready, but they were integrating their own product pretty quick. Was there any? Was it? There was quite a few Generation 1 that were original product, wasn't there?
What do you mean by original product from Diaclone?
That they concept and designed themselves, and it didn't come
It wasn't until 86 to 85, 86 they started actually doing their own. Like we was talking about Hot Rod, or which would be Rodimus. Excuse me, Rodimus.
Yes, that's my favorite. Hot Rod Rodimus. Yep.
Rodimus Cup and Springer and them guys. They were all Hasbro ideas that they got together with Tommy Tomeo on to do it. But Tommy Tomeo always had the final say on them, and it wasn't until that towards the end of the series that they actually bowed out and moved away. Whenever they started coming out with the Action Masters and stuff, and the Pretenders, that's pretty much when they bowed out, and they're like, "Well, you just kind of have to do your own thing on that." The last thing I think they had a hand in with was with the Power Masters, because they actually carried that series over to Japan.
Yeah, and I remember we talked about it at some point that there was an entire, where the series ended in the U.S., it continued on in Japan. Like they never stopped over there; they just kept going, kept the roll.
So this is a Tommy line you're talking about, right? This is the brand.
Yeah, Tommy Tomei.
Yeah, so the Tomei, and then there's Takara. I think Takara would be the superhero line, whatever. But I mean,
Takari Tommy Tomei is what it is, the full name. And if you look at the Transformers on G1, it actually says Takari on the inside of their legs and stuff.
Yep.
But it's Takari Tommy Tomei.
I think I've got one here. I'm not sure if this is part of one of those, the ones you're talking about where it fits in with the other ones. Let me just grab this so you can see on the solo. So is this one that as part of another, another set?
That's a later. I think that's that came out in the 2000s. That's what they call a RID, or a Robots in Disguise series. I can tell by the Autobot emblem. It's actually when they tried to revive the toy line. That's around I'd say 2000, 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Just by that sticker on it.
Right. So do you? I mean, like I do what we call it, thrift shop hopping, right? That's my joy once a week to do that, and pick up whatever toys I can. I picked up this week because one of my friends said, "Hey, this is at the store. Can you go and have a if you want it? It's only a couple of bucks." So I went down and got this. This is a Happy toy line. It's a Happy. I think it's Happy Robot or some line like this. This is just it's a walking line. The guns come off. We're talking about robots here. This is nothing to do with Transformers or anything, but just a robot, right? So, and manufacturing and stuff. So you got a gun that comes off, and this one here is supposed to have come with a shield, and then it's got battery on and off switch there. If I can put this right, and so it's supposed to make sounds. And I think this thing here turns around. But I mean, look at toy manufacturing. Since we got Hulk, right? We're talking about toy manufacturing and stuff. The loss of all these G1 and the Diaclone molds, right? The bronze, the copper molds. We've been both Hook and I've been talking about copper molds, and I've been learning a bit about that and what that is and stuff. But imagine, for the lack of copper, they just break down all these molds from his, that we would like go, why? Yet they did, and all this time, and all that's been lost to, history and stuff. I wonder if, if, especially for the love that people have for G1, right? If they were able to still have those, they could put them out every year or every couple of years and make a huge thing out of it. And people will be like, here's my money, take my money. Come on, man. That like we do with like comic books, right? Like old comic books and first prints and stuff like that. First appearances, take my money. But I wonder if, for people like us who are collectors, if we were there, I always think about like going back in time, right? Going, listen, I'll have about 5 of those nickel and dime, X-Men #1s and all that, all those, and we'll take it back to the future with me and like hold it in my little, safe, and we'll do that. And like, is there something like you'd want to do that? You three gentlemen, would you have that little back to the past, future, whatever, back in time moments?
Time traveling for my hobby, you bet.
Yeah. What's your each one of you guys, what is that one, treasure hunt that you'd sell your soul for to go back in time for?
Oh no, I don't know about that. There's nothing I'd sell my soul for, but
you know what I mean.
You'd sell your life though.
Listen, I can't say this on this show. Come on now, guys. We would let Stu go first.
You let me go first. I'm sitting here thinking. I can't even think. Hold on. You gotta put me on the spot. So right now, and I've always wanted one. And especially this week, I had been looking for one on eBay, and as everybody knows, Paul Rubin passed away this week. Pee Wee Herman, and ever since that show came out, I always wanted to get a Pee Wee Herman doll. One of the little dolls. I wanted a Pee Wee Herman doll. Of course, when you're 12 or 13 years old, you can't say that that's what you want. Now that I'm in my 40s, I don't give a crap what you guys think. I want a Pee Wee Herman doll, and if I could go back in time,
well, me and Hawk had a friend that had one.
Right.
And he was such a despicable person as a child. He got a Serpentor one year. And
Right.
Poor Hawk there, he was just drooling over the Serpentor. He's like, man, you got to let me have this. The Serpentor. He had the chariot. He had everything, And he kept on. I mean, Hawk was after him for years about it. And finally, one day he was over there and he's like, let me have this. He tied a firecracker to it and lit it and blew it up in front of him.
Oh.
And I was like, Hawk come over to my house and his head was down. And he said, I can't believe he did that. He said, that was so cruel.
See, as far as G.I. Joe stuff goes, there's really nothing that I want that I don't already have.
Right.
For G.I. Joe. I mean, I've got the 3 Holy Grails. I've got most of the figures that I want. But as far as something that I, wish I would have had when I was a kid and wanted as a kid, but never expressed it because I was too embarrassed about it, was that Pee Wee Herman doll, man. That one that with the little pull string thing, and it was just, I don't know why I wanted it. I wish I would have gotten it, when I was 12 or 13 years old when it first came out, because I think it came out to advertise Pee Wee's Playhouse. And I wish I had it. Wish I had one. Now the prices are skyrocketing because he passed away this week,
With
I know what I would like to do. If I could go back into time, I would go to that 1995, or was it 94? I think it was 94, the convention on the Intrepid. And I'd take about $2,000 to $5,000 and I would clean up on that thing. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And to be clear, Hasbro was clearing out the line. So they sold all their prototypes and all of their stuff at that convention. And we're talking about lots and lots and lots of stuff that has now disappeared, and no one really knows where it's at. Hey, you know, there's several of those items that have just evaporated into the ether, but yeah, they sold all of their prototypes in that '94 convention.
So this is the one we're talking about here.
Yep.
Is it like? But this is like the up-to-date one. But like this is the doll that you're talking about.
Yeah, that's
Next to-
that looks like the vintage one.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
that's
the
what I'm talking about.
1987 from Pee Wee's Playhouse, 17-inch.
Oh
They
yeah,
don't. There is no, currently unavailable, but I guess that's the one they were talking about. So let's have a look at what it goes for on eBay, shall we?
yeah, go for it.
So the last one like sold in July for $50, right? So I'm sure there are still, these are still out there, and
Oh, they're still out there,
but getting your hands on them.
one, and also I got to weigh the fact of like, do I buy the Pee Wee Herman doll for myself, or do I buy comic books for the store?
Right.
So,
Point. Got a point.
what's that?
Well, there is also the fact where you could sell some, sell something and buy it as a display for the store, which would be in the store, which when push comes to shove, I'm not sure how you guys do your taxes there, but could be like a business write-off.
Yeah.
You get to see it every day.
Oh yeah, I got a
But
few
you
of
don't sell
those. Just but yeah.
All right, we'll have Hawko last. So Ben, what would you travel back in time for?
You're doing that, Aru, just because I put Big Stu on the spot. Come on now.
It's all right.
The
It
one
is what
thing
it
I always
is.
wanted, and I still don't have in my collection, is an original G1 Megatron. And then the other thing that I would do, and Hawk told me it was back in '91 when they re-released the Transformers, and they called it G2. We'd go to Walmart, and I mean they were just plastered all over the place at Walmart. And Hawk's like, "You better start getting them." I'm like, "No." I said, I want the original. I don't want those." And I'm kicking myself over that now, because even though they weren't desirable then, and even for a long time now, they are. So, and I've got a few over the years, but I really wish I went ahead and just got my hands on all of them when I had a chance. So,
Didn't I get you that Starscream? Did I get that Starscream for you?
We were in Bartlesville, Oklahoma at the mall, and you talked me into buying it. But we were there. They had two of them. The only thing I wish I'd done is I wish I would have bought both of them. The Machine War Starscream. And that would have been, what, 99?
Yeah.
Is this the one we're talking about here?
Huh?
This is the one we're talking about here?
That's the one that I wanted ever since I was a kid. And I still don't have one in my collection because they are just it seems like every day they go up in price. To get a decent one complete without the box is like almost $300 now.
I almost have a feeling that we at some point either had one of these or someone close to me had one of these, like a friend.
I have a third party one.
Yeah, I remember seeing the gun. I mean, like the actual, the sight. But I'm not sure if we actually had it in our family. I know we had a few, right? The weird thing is, we had Omnicron. Was it the Omnicron? The ship.
Oh, Unicron.
Unicron, right? With the white rocket or whatever. I know my brother over the years did get some of these toys, but the problem is when you have guests and other kids who do not have the same love for your toy or appreciate things that belong to somebody else, right? Who like to walk off with stuff that's not theirs. And I've been in that situation myself. So where I've been the one who's been walking away with people's toys. But I think, karma is one of those things you just have to, when you grow up, you learn that karma does come back and bite you. And I think the sooner we learn that as kids, the better for us. But I kind of feel like there was a few big ones that my brother ended up having that because he's the youngest in our family. He's like maybe about 15, 12 years younger than us, than me or my sister. But like, we used to get toys for, I'm not even sure if I was the one who bought him the toy, right? Because I was working at 19 and 18 and he was still about 10 or 8 at that point. So, but I do remember seeing this. But yeah, I mean, it was such a cool, it's weird having like a gun, a robot that turns into a gun and it's the villain of the show, yet you like it because it's something you can hold in a gun in your hand like a gun, like a weapon.
Villains were always the coolest.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, like I said, for us, as kids, we still played cowboys and Indians and things. So, we always running around with some. Every year, when I was a very little kid, my dad owned a gun shop over by St. Louis, and then we moved. He's originally from Southeast Missouri, so we moved back here when I was 5. And but every year, you can guarantee for Christmas, me and my brother would get cap pistols, and we'd get a big bag of caps. So, I mean, we always played cowboys and Indians and stuff, and it was just, I guess it's one of those things. Just that is that time, that era, because shortly after that they got really, really strict about stuff like that, in the toy lines and stuff.
And they're going around the same thing around again. It's like every couple of years, and it's always wrapped up in politics, right? And I don't like to talk about politics on here, but really, when it comes to things to do with children and with toys, with guns, and with comics, they always try to wrap that up in politics because it's all about them getting votes, and they utilize what's fun and turn it into what's about, to get votes, and we see that happen all the time here as well, and kids become like either the pull or the push when it comes to it. It's just like parents getting divorced and stuff. It's a similar thing. It's two parties basically trying to get the kids vote. Whereas it's us now. As adults, them trying to get our votes. Now, getting back to,
we didn't get Hawks yet.
Not yet. So I'm thinking, like, is there anything else apart from toys that you would, either of you gentlemen would like go back in time for?
Oh, definitely. I would love to go back in time. I'd love to get a 19.
DeLorean.
My dream car is a 1978 Firebird Trans Am T-top convertible, honeycomb rims. Oh, that's my dream car.
All right, Benny, tell him about it.
I had an 81 Firebird I bought out in California.
Oh,
it had the and it was kind of nice and it kind of wasn't. It had the Buick V6 at 3.8, the same thing the Grand National had in it, but it wasn't the turbocharged. But it had the capability to be turbocharged. Now that was a car. I'd say that was one of my favorites. Of course, I drive Mustangs now, but
me too. Mustangs are the. There's a reason they're the most popular sports car in the world because they're awesome.
Well, me and my wife, we'd been married at the time. I think about 4 years, 34 years, and the 2005s rolled out. And when I saw the 2005s, I said that is the car there because they look so similar to the original body style. And I was like, now Ford's got something there. And I didn't get one right off later on whenever I could afford it. Ended up getting a 2001, which is the body style before. And it's still built. It was still built on the Fox body platform.
Right.
But I had it a couple years. I sold it, and the next one I got was an 05. And I still
I was driving a 1994 Firebird Trans Am when the 2005 Mustangs came out. And in 2007, I was always, Trans Am, Camaro. No, I was driving a Camaro. Camaro Z28, 94 Camaro Z28. Not a Trans Am, Camaro Z28. And all about the Camaros, at the time. And I pulled into the Ford dealership. I saw the Mustangs. I just said, hey, I just want to test drive one. I just want to look at it, see what it's all about. the guy says, well, let me pull this out real quick for you. He started the engine, and I'm like, well, shoot, I just bought a Mustang. He started that car up. I was like, I didn't even need to test drive it. I knew that I was going home with that car, and I was going to give them my my Camaro that day. So I traded in my '94 Camaro for the
07
2005 Mustang GT, and then a few years later, when the a couple years later when the economy collapsed, I had to give it back to the bank, and that was I cried, man. It was a rough day. And then last year I was able to buy myself a 2011 Mustang 5.0 convertible. So I think Hawk has seen it. It is a nice car. It is a nice car, if I do not say so myself. But yeah.
Now, this is a 1984 Trans Am Burt Reynolds, right? So did that have to do with why you guys wanted this car? Or is this the car? Is it the right car? Am I looking at here?
This is the 85. The one I'm talking about is the body style before that. The 78 Firebird Trans Am.
The Smokey and Bandit edition.
Smoking the Bandit Trans Am.
Smoking the Bandit edition. That's what mine was. It was the last year they made that body style, the 81 I had.
Yeah.
So. Well, it is telling me that it is Firebird 1984 Pontiac, right? So I'm not sure why it's saying it's 20. Well, you guys are saying it's 2015.
Burt Reynolds was all about the Pontiac Trans Ams all the way up until he died. But the ones that he drove in Smokey and the Bandit and Smokey and the Bandit Part 2, the first one was a 78,
right?
And then the second one was an 80, I think an 81 actually, an 80 or 81.
Right. It would have had to have been an 82 because 81 was the last year of the old body style.
Well, no. Smokey and the Bandit 2, he still had the old body style. It was either an 80 or 81. I can't remember. And then the third one was this body style that he's showing right now.
Right.
Oh, you're right. He had a 77 or 78 in the first one. The second one was an 81 because it had the same front clip as the same bumper as mine did. Right. And then 83 or the third one was an 85 that
right.
I can't think of his name drove in it.
Am I wrong to say this is like Knight Rider's car?
No, you're right.
That would be right.
Knight Rider. That is what Knight Rider drove.
You're absolutely right.
The thing about Knight Rider was they got their hands on the car before it was released, and for the series, and they did that when they made a made-for-TV movie, and they did that with the new body style for the made-for-TV movie. They got their hands on the prototype before it was released.
Aru, and
the new style.
Aru, I know that this probably isn't a big thing in New Zealand, but in America, car culture is really.
Oh yeah, really we understand. It's like in New Zealand, it's Holden and Ford. Holden's our thing, right? So, like you guys are there with Mustangs and what was the other one? Dodge. Was it Dodge?
Challenger.
Dodge cars and all that.
Chargers.
Yeah.
Challenger.
Chevys, Chevrolets, and is it Ford and Chevrolet that you guys something about that? Anyway, for us, it's Holdens and Fords. So you're either a Ford person or you're a Holden person, right? So, but for myself, I was more, when I was growing up as a teenager, I was more into Harley Davidsons. So cars wasn't my thing. I've never really enjoyed driving a car as much as I would, enjoy being on a motorbike. So
I think you could probably argue that 78 edition or a Firebird edition would probably almost go for more than a Harley here in the States. You could probably argue that fact.
It's a freaking beautiful car. The design's immaculate.
The one they're talking about before this, Pontiac actually made a Firebird or made a Bandit edition, which was actually 1 inch wider. It was just 1 inch wider than their normal car. And it was a specialty that they made just for the film Smokey and the Bandit. Now, the interesting part of this is while I was at Mattel, my boss was actually working on one, but he couldn't find a Smokey and Bandit edition car. So he had to take a regular Firebird and he actually cut it completely in half to add 1 inch into everything. So he would have a Smokey and the Bandit edition Firebird.
Wow.
That's how rare they are. That's how hard they are to get a hold of that car.
So we're
Yeah,
talking about
that's
this one
one.
here, yeah?
Yeah.
Yep, that's the car.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful car.
So you're talking about the sunroof here that they cut into from the original car to make it look like that. Is that what you're saying?
The T-tops.
Yeah.
No, that was a feature for that car.
Yeah, they come
Oh.
factory that way.
Yeah, that T-tops were available all the way up until 2003
Yeah.
on the Camaros and Pontiacs. And then Pontiac went under in 2004. They didn't make any more Pontiac or any more Trans Ams after 2003.
Mm.
And then when Camaro came back in 2007, no 2010, sorry, 2007 they were showed on Transforms. But in 2010, when the Camaro finally came back, they stopped offering the T-tops. Now T-tops, I love T-tops more than I like convertibles.
Right. So the reason I'm bringing up cars and like you guys are talking about cars and stuff. So being a person who collects Batman, you cannot have enough Batmobiles, let alone enough Batman. So I've been like, I've got friggin' Batmobiles, like maybe 5-6 different types of Batmobiles over the years. And now that's made me get into Hot Wheels, right? Because of Batman. And so recently I bought the Knight Rider three set that they had for Knight Rider Hot Wheels. And then whenever I see friggin' cars now, I'm actually buying cars, right? Toy cars whenever they come up. And the weird thing is, like, it doesn't matter what they look like now. If they look cool, I'm buying friggin' toy cars. This is not cool, man. This is really not cool if you're a toy collector. That you just keep jumping onto, you just keep jumping from one thing to the other thing because you have no focus on one thing. And this is where you go broke, and then you got to end up selling your stupid collection to buy something else.
Yep.
Now, it's a problem that we face as toy collectors, right? So when Hawk gets back, I'll hit him with his back in time thing. But Big Stu talked about having to let go of his precious car. And is there any precious toys that you had to let go to get other toy?
I'm at the point now. I'm at the point now that I refuse to give up my precious toys for anything. I know how to make money if the store doesn't make it. I know how I can go make money somewhere. I can go get a job somewhere. I can make ends meet. I can do what I need. But my precious toys that I hold dear will not be sold.
Yeah.
They just will not be sold. And and I have those put away, out of the shop, and they're out there. Now there's stuff in my personal collection that'll get sold in a heartbeat, but the stuff that I've deemed like, nope, I've sacrificed too much in my 47 years. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna sacrifice some of these toys, because they bring too many good memories to me.
Yeah, I have the same feeling. I go like with comics and stuff, like even with toys, right? I mean, like I always get told, why don't you sell it? You'll have more money. I'm like, I don't really need the money as such, in particular. And I think, but the idea is to let, there's this idea of people think that because you have so much, you're a hoarder, right? The negative side of it. But they don't understand why you actually have it, or they don't want to take the time to ask you why you have them and why you collect them, why you hold on to them,
right?
Or why you got them in the first place, right? I mean, there's reasons why. Like, I mean, like I still am gutted for not being able to afford the 181 for Incredible Hulk for $80 because I wasn't able to afford it because I wasn't working because I was injured, and so I was housebound, and like there was no way I could, bedbound. So there was no way I could get money to do it because there was no way I could afford to do it. and yet I missed out on that one. In 2009, of all times, I missed out on it before the movies became big and all that, or before the character just blew up. But even though the character was blowing up since '89, right, 88, whatever, for
Right.
me, for New Zealand, for me when I was getting into the X-Men comics, but that loss has taught me not to let go of things now. In the past, I've actually given away stuff like that. That's worth a couple of $100 now. And I'm like, every time I look at a toy now, I go, do I really want to pass this on? Should I hold on to it? Whenever in doubt, I just don't do it anymore. That's been
Right.
my thing now. It doesn't matter what it is. If any doubt in my head comes in, no, it stays on the shelf or stays there in my collection. Ben, do you want to take have a go at this one?
No, I've never traded or could sell. I had my first collection, which was all my original toys, and then I started adding to them. And I had about 127 then, and when my house burnt, and it was years. It was a few years after that before I was kind of disgusted about it. I didn't collect anything, and then when I'm trying to think. I think they were fixing to come out with I want to say the trilogy, the Siege trilogy. It was basically G1-esque toys. They were, they were nostalgia, or whatever. And I was like, well, okay, I'm gonna start giving you. And my wife started buying them for me. I was at work and she's at Walmart, and she's like, well, I found an Optimus Prime and an Ultra Magnus, and it's like, do you want them? I'm like, sure. So she kind of got me back into collecting again, because there for a long time like I said, I was so disgusted. I lost all that, and but she got me back, and then every year, Christmas, birthdays, whatever, she got to where she would buy me Transformers. So then I got to go on to the toy shows and stuff again, and it kind of exploded. So. But no, I just can't. Wow, I can't. I don't do any trading unless I've got doubles. I won't do any trading or selling or anything like that. I've actually we've got to where had a few tight times, or however you want to put it, and I've actually sold firearms. Instead of selling my toy collection, because it's easier for me to get a firearm for hunting purposes and stuff than it is to get some of these toys, because I mean some of them are out for a while and that's it. If you don't jump on them when they come out, you'll never get them. You'll have to go to places like eBay, and then you'll have to spend 3 to 4 times the price for them.
Yeah, and they keep going up. I mean, there is a speculator market, but they keep going up. I think we're talking about letting go of a toy. Did you ever have to let go of a toy, to do something else, to buy something else, or where you were, you couldn't afford to pay rent or whatever, whatever it was that you had to let go of a toy? And would you ever do it again? Or
is that question is posed toward me? I haven't really had to let go of a toy. I've been very cautious about keeping my collection whole, keeping my collection, unbroken, and trying not to separate it out. I've been really, really good about that throughout the years. There's been times when pieces of my collection have went missing, and I've actually had to go hunt them down.
Yeah,
but usually once it gets in my collection, it's kind of there for a while, and I've never really sold much of it off. And I can't remember.
My biggest obstacle right now is a 3-year-old.
Yeah. Kids more so. You're talking about Hot Wheels, and from a guy that worked at Hot Wheels, I want to show you some goodies. And
okay, wait. Let me pop it up onto Solo so you can talk about designing them and everything. So go for it now.
So this was Hot Wheels, and I was helping out with Field Entertainment, and we used to go to the circuits, So we would actually go do the circuits and give away toys whenever Monster Jam would show up there. This one is actually signed by the driver with the date on it. It's signed by the creative team on this particular unit here. So it's still in the package. And so this is one of the many Hot Wheels pieces that I've got that are pretty things. This package got a little beat up along the way, sadly.
Is this one of the ones that you designed? I should get this right.
No, I didn't design this truck.
Okay,
no, I
let's
didn't
get rid of that then.
This truck was Firestorm, I believe it was. I believe this was the Hot Wheels truck on the circuit at the time. But you were also talking about Knight Rider, and I was looking for another really exclusive because I've got one more, but there we go. Still in the box. Still nice. This was as I was working at Mattel. This was also a giveaway that they had. So this is 1/18. These are actually numbered. And
did you just get the one, or did you get two?
No, these were presents for working for Mattel at the time.
Oh wow!
So this was given to me by Mattel as I was working there. So I don't remember which this one is. Now I've got one more, but I was looking for it, but I haven't run across it yet. And I'm pretty certain I probably put it back up because it was only one of 25 made.
Right.
And very exclusive. But basically it's the Hot Wheels Darth Vader car inside a lightsaber, inside a Star Wars lightsaber.
Wow.
And so there's only like one of 25 or one of 50 made of those.
And this was for what reason was it made for though?
We were working with Licensed Entertainment at the time, and I was working on the brand for Star Wars, and I was kind of like sidetracked. All of the entertainment people that were working at Mattel at the time had gotten items like this. You would get items every so often, exclusive items like this one, and that one, wherever that one's at. But I was looking for it so I could bring it out because that's probably, if you're a Hot Wheels collector, you're probably looking for that. You know what I mean? One of 25 made or one of 50 made.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, the joy there is right. I mean, like I've had times working for corporations or whatever, small corporations, franchises, where as a worker, I thought like, why don't they share that stuff out to us workers, right? Rather than putting it on the shelf and stuff, like you see, like the head office sends all this stuff out, or say the industry that are part of, so like I used to work for Tile Company, right? A retail outlet. And so it was part of a franchise. And so part of that thing, you get like construction companies, suppliers of different things. And I'd be there going, well, why don't they give those hats out to us so we can wear them? Or why don't they give us the diaries and stuff? And I'll be there going, this is just poor looking after your workers, It's just sitting there. Like, why don't you just give the T-shirt away or something like that to us, or whatever. And like, I like the idea that here you got Mattel, who just basically exclusively does that for their workers, and design team, whatever it is, and appreciative of that. And I think that's something, I've learned because I've been through that where I've said why. I've come up to go, well, I'm going to not be like that. I'll hand out stuff. If I get handed something, I'll part with that. So like, Hawk knows that we set up a plunge convention here in Whangarei, which is coming up in September. We're going to do it in Kerikeri on the 16th. This will be our second one this year, but it's the first one up north in Kerikeri, the Wichita's North. And we get sponsored by you guys got AMC there, right? The movie theater out there. Right. Well, here in New Zealand and Australia, we've got event cinemas. So we get tickets. I'll get like tickets for my volunteers and stuff, double passes as well as prizes for people, competitions and stuff like that, as well as like pizza vouchers and stuff for volunteers. I made it sure that all our people get that before I even get near that, because I felt like what it's like to be handed all this stuff for free and just not give it out. And that's something that like I even made it to my point where I go, I don't get one of these. I'd rather go and buy the movie ticket myself than not to give away the vouchers. And I found that like this is something that like a lot of companies don't do, and businesses don't do, where they don't treat their lower end, because it's it's a lower end workers, and they don't really matter. We're the guys at the top running the show, so we deserve more. And I think when you show appreciation for the person who's just setting up the tables or the chairs, I think that all as a real all-in effect, like everybody's like, this is part of us, right? We feel appreciated, and you get more out of people by doing that. So this is cool. I mean, like, I didn't know that they would do stuff like that for their workers, and put out stuff that we'd never ever see out there in the wild, and if it did, because somebody decided to let go of it, and I'm sure Hawk isn't going to let go of it, even though I'd hunt him down for that Knight Rider car. If there was anything I would actually want, would be that Knight Rider car out of all his collection. Just want to let you know that. So what would you go back in time for around your to the earlier conversation topic? Hawk.
What would I go back in time for? Let's see. So, I think I think that one of them might be that '94 convention. I would love to go to that '94 convention, with a ton of money, and walk away with some of those goodies, those stuff that was never created. Or
Is this the Mattel?
No, it's a GI Joe convention, 1994, and they had it on the Intrepid, and in there they were liquidating all of their assets at the time, so they were getting rid of a bunch of stuff at that show that was GI Joe related, and I think that I would probably go back for that, perhaps. I mean, there's plenty of things that I can think of, but if we're talking about just for my collection, if we're talking about what I would go back for my collection, probably that. I wouldn't mind going back to 1985 or 84, whenever the flag came out, and trying to convince my parents one more time about picking up that flag, as it took me a long time to get one, and
I know somebody that has two, and one of them, and one's for sale, pretty cheap.
What is the value of one of those things? I was trying to tell my brother-in-law this past Sunday when we went over for dinner, that there was this huge ship. He said, I've never seen them in New Zealand. As a kid, never saw it here at all. So I wasn't wrong in my estimation that it never arrived. So what is this retail value of one of those things?
It is in the box. In the box, it runs about $10,000. If it's sealed in the box, it's about $10,000. Outside of the box, it can run anywhere between $1,000 to $5,000,
right?
Depending on condition and completion.
Right.
So the one that I have that's on display that you saw last week, that is 95% complete. It's missing a total of 5 things, I believe, five items that are missing on it. So I call it 95, 90, 96% complete. I would sell it for about $3,000. And then I have another one that I would conservatively call about 60%, 65% complete, that you could build. It looks like the ship, very playable, but I would sell that one for about $800 to $1,000.
Right. That's the one you got all those little jets and all that.
Now, when they came out, Walmart was selling them for $94, $95 in the store in 1985.
Serious? At that size?
That was it. That was it. But that was a lot of money then too.
Oh, of course.
That was a lot of cash back then. You think of what you could buy with just $1 in 1985, and there was a lot you could get with $1 in 1985. Gas was what, 64 cents in 85 a gallon? Around there somewhere, 64 cents. A pop cost you 15 cents to a quarter, for a soda. Now they're like what, $1.50, something like
$2.
that. So So I mean, it was still a heavy amount of money even back then. But Walmart used to put up a display, and I talk about this many times. Walmart in Poplar Bluff, 1985, they would put on a toy display, and I actually ran into Sam Walton in that Walmart in the Bluff. I think I've told Benny this story
cool.
many a time, but I ran into Sam Walton there, and but they used to put on a toy display, and as you walk through those front doors, they would have this area that was roped off, and basically you could just drop your kids off and play. And they had the 1985, the flag up there, and you could play with the flag. And mom and dad was just supposed to, watch from onward just to see what their kids wanted. That was kind of the idea behind it. Then you could go find it in the store.
It was baiting.
Or, huh?
It was baiting.
It was baiting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, baiting.
Yeah. Clearly, that's not allowed anymore.
Yeah.
But boy, I sure wanted that thing. I tried to talk every which way to get him to get that thing, but they say it was a no-go. Years and years afterwards, I regret I should have bought you that. I didn't know you were this into this whole thing. I was like, well, here we are now. So eventually I got one.
I mean, we're talking about like how not everybody, every parent is able to provide for the child at that time. I'm like, I remember like my dad was into like hard out into tech stuff, like videos, like machines and stuff like that. And he was into like model kit making, those things that come on like, that you cut up and you put together. I'm not sure what they're called. And he was into that. And I actually remember being the tyrant that I was, didn't even understand the value of that. I broke most of it because I took them out of the cabinet and started playing with them, thinking that these are toys. Didn't know where they were not toys. And that stopped my dad from carrying on his hobby, which I regret being a part of that and to that sort of thing for him, because he realized that he had a 9-year-old kid, 8-year-old kid who just didn't value, nor did he, and I put this blame on him, explain to me why they were there in the cupboard and not for me to play with. Like I would do with anybody now. Like if some kid came to me, I'll go like, that's in the box for a reason, and this you can play with here. Smash it all you want. We had one of my friends, talking about one of my friends, like, so Ethan, one of my good friends, like back in the day in 2014, we had a shop and a comic shop. And so in that shop, we had trading card games as part of that, like Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff like that. And Ethan arrived one day and he said, hey man, would love to have, play some trading card games here in the shop. I said, sure, I'll put a room together. I don't know nothing about them. And so I gave him an area to do that. We shut the shop down in 2014, but he kept his group from that going on till now. And he's been supportive of us, of our convention and having, that there. But here's a good thing. This is the fruition of just letting people do their thing. So let me see if I can share this without getting too much of my public, stuff out there. I mean, private life out there in the public. This is gonna like make you smile there, Hulk, because this, my friends, is just letting people, work at their strengths. And let's see if that's coming up. And so yesterday was the grand opening of the Card Merchant franchise store in Whangarei. Right. So this is 2014 was the start of this group. Right. This is I'm not sure if you're able to see that. No. Okay, let me just pop in there. So this is Ethan here, right? Oh, somebody snapped a photo of me. Ooh, sneaky. All right, so this is a store here, and this is Min beyond the counter. He's one of the original. And then also, this is it here. It's right next to a hobby and model shop on John Street. This is the opening of it yesterday. They've only just put image up. Let me see if I can get some other photos here. So they've got all this stuff that's happening here because of that. As I mentioned to Stu, Big Stu, this past week, about getting games and card games and stuff as part of a store. And of course there is Jason here who's been with us with Plunge and has been with me since the store. He's a good friend, and so this is just letting people do their thing. And if I imagine like if I said no, this we do comics, mate. We just do comics here. We don't do cards. We don't do anything. Where would this be? You never know what the long-term goals of somebody. And here you've got three people who've gone in together as partners into opening the store. One of them's looking after the counter and so on. One's taking care of the business side of things, and another one's all three of them now have worked themselves, right? So there's Phil, Ethan, and Min, right? Three different cultures, right? Three different very different people, three different very close friends since 2014. Started in the shop, didn't really know each other, that they were into card games, got together, and here they are now. I don't know, what is that, like, I don't know, 8-9 years later, almost a decade later, getting together and opening their own store, even though it's part of franchise and stuff. But they've been building this for the last 9 years and stuff.
Well,
so I'm quite excited to see something come out of that. And these guys have mentored people over that time. Like over those 10 years, they've mentored high school kids who are now basically at university or in relationships, growing up parents, as parents themselves, right? And so I think this is something that's great that comes out of hobbies that people don't realize, that there's businesses that come out of hobbies. There's relationships, there's mentoring, there's a safe place now in town for kids to be going at. They had been doing that as part of another education place called Design and Art School that they had here for the last 3 years. Now they're building again for their own space, gaming at the back and stuff like that. So yeah, I think to see something like that come out of this, a hobby is really amazing. So I'm quite glad, and we've been trying to see where they go, and they realize that it was safer for them and better, not safer, but better for them to have a part of a franchise and try to build something up themselves. Yeah. Of course, over time, it's ownership, managing their own store, they own it. But even if it's a franchise, they still own it, and it's good to see that. So I just wanted to share that because yesterday was grand opening. Tomorrow they're going to be filled up because it's Saturday here tomorrow. It's Friday here now. So, being Saturday, it's going to be really cool with that. So let's now just back at this thing with the conversation about, because you would go back for that, Intrepid, right? Can you tell me what the Intrepid is, just in finishing here?
The Intrepid is an aircraft carrier. It was a real live working warship during World War II, and now she's docked, I believe, in New Jersey,
New York.
She docked in New York. So they've had several conventions on the Intrepid.
And the USS Flag, the aircraft carrier toy from G.I. Joe, is based off the Intrepid.
Right.
Yep. So that's why they held it there. The flag was this monumental peak of the brand at that point. It was the best selling boys brand, during that year. And then of course it was toppled pretty quick, I think, by Transformers. After that, then Power Rangers toppled them, or Ninja Turtles toppled them, and then Power Rangers toppled Ninja Turtles, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
It must have been such a huge deal to like actually not only be able to make the toy off it, but actually introduce it on the ship it's based off. I mean, like that's, I wonder how much it cost them to actually get that to work, or did they actually approach Mattel and go, oh, was it Mattel or is it Hasbro? I'm getting them wrong between the two. Right. So is it Hasbro that's G.I. Joe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So, Hasbro, there would have been a lot of discussions behind the scenes that, hey, since you guys are doing there, we'd like to open up there, and were you privy to some of those decisions, or did you hear about the background on that over time?
Oh, I wasn't even involved in that. And, in '94,
that's right. Yeah.
I was way too young. at that point. I was just coming out of high school, you
Yeah.
know, in 94. So actually, what did we graduate? 92?
96.
96. There we go.
96.
I wasn't even out of high school yet. So, I had
I don't
no.
think you can come back from Texas at that time. I think you were still with your Aunt Diana.
Yeah. So yeah, you know, those decisions were not there. GI Joe has had a long history of having a club and having a partnership with the club and conventions and all of this stuff, and that's been going on since, gosh, the club started in 65, 64. I think I had it almost right off the bat. And so you could have joined the club back in 1964, the Hasbro Club, and they put out a newsletter. So the GI Joe has always had a club. Now I don't know if Transformers has Transformers ever had a club?
Yeah,
I know the Collectors Club had Transformers there for a while. The same people.
I believe they did have a club for a while. I think it's whenever Dreamwave was still doing the comics. I think Dreamwave started a club.
Okay.
Because I was going through one of the old comics one day, and it was talking about Transformers Club, and it was, you know, done through Dreamwave. A lot of their people, I think, was responsible for it. I don't know what happened to it after that.
I know Fun Pub got it after that. So if it was Dreamwave, it would have been 2004. And Fun Pub got the club after that. Fun Pub had the GI Joe club for a long time.
Oh yeah, Fun Publication was the. They were awesome for a while, you know. That gun and backpack I gave you the other day, Hawk.
That's right.
I think is from the '94 convention.
That's right. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, that was pretty neat. I didn't. Yeah. I didn't realize they had the convention on the Intrepid.
Yeah. So Stu gave me he gave me a special gift because he knows that I like the 12-inch GI Joe figures as well. So he gave me that '94 gun and backpack for it, and you know, hopefully I returned the favor. I think I gave what 150. What issue did I pass off to you?
You gave me. I got it over here still. Because I don't put things away like I'm supposed to. You gave me one issue number 149.
149. There we go.
Yeah.
GI Joe. Let me have a look at that. Just give me 1 sec. Hold it up there. Lift it up a bit. There we go. Now that's a pretty cool cover. Who's the artist on that cover? Do you know?
Wildman, isn't it? Isn't that Wildman?
Gozier.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
Gozer, RE, and RE. I'm not sure. I'm not. I don't pay attention to that stuff like I should, I guess.
All right.
You know,
okay.
Comic shop owner that doesn't pay attention to who does the comic book, who does the artwork or whatever. But
we don't really have time for that when you're running the store, do you?
Yeah. I should make time, you know, in all honesty.
Hold on. I just made a book over this whole thing.
Okay. So, Ben, heading back to Transformers now, what is your... We know you lost it in the fire, the first run and stuff, but what was your holy grail that you got after that? Like jewelry, you know, that you went out of your way, your holy grail Transformers that you got and found after the fire.
My holy grail, and I just recently got it not too long ago, and it's not complete, is a Fortress Maximus. And this fella stands about this tall. Well,
all right.
Well, he's about 2 foot tall. He's like one of the biggest Transformers at the time that was made for G1. And he was a headmaster, which I don't have the heads for him, but he was so massive that his head transformed into a robot, and the robot for that had a head that transformed.
Wow.
So, but that was one of the holy grails. That was one of the hardest ones that I've had to find so far. That's kind of my piece de resistance, or however you pronounce that. it was one of those. It's you can find them, but they are like really expensive.
So that's this one here, yeah.
Yes. The one I've got him on my shelf over here, and he is so big, I have to have him bent over to just to have him sitting on the shelf.
Oh, that's fun.
So
That's awesome.
let me
So
see.
it's made up like, so you've got what, a leg each, an arm each, and a torso, or was it like 6 pieces to make it up?
No, he's one piece, but his head.
Oh, okay.
See if I can
there
get
he
him in the
is.
picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Oh, wow.
big I have to bend him over to put him on the shelf.
Right.
Wow.
To put it in the perfect to show you how big he is. This is the arc that just came out that's sitting next to him.
Wow.
How many inches is that? Like at full size?
Oh,
centimeter.
wait a second, Benny. You got an arc? When did you get that arc?
I got that last year at SEMOCon in Poplar Bluff.
Wow.
All right.
So I come across a gentleman from West Memphis. I was telling you about that, and he had the arc, and he he twisted my arm to buy it. Like
I'm sure. I'm sure it was really real painful.
It's one of those things I had to go get my wife. I looked at her and she's like, "Well, if you want it, get it." And then she carried it out of the store for me. But I come across this gentleman from West Memphis, and he said he used to West Memphis, Arkansas, which is if I'm thinking right, is it Arkansas? Yeah, West Memphis, Arkansas, which is over, basically, below Memphis, Tennessee. And but he said he has a store over there. He said, "You need to come see me." I haven't made it over there yet, but he told me that he used to be a contractor, and Hasbro in the day had these warehouses that were just full of product. And I guess I don't know if they were making way for new warehouses or what, but he got the contract for it, and he was told that what was ever in the warehouses he could keep.
Oh.
And he supposedly, and I still have him waiting for Hawk to come in sometime, and me and him's going to have to drive over and talk to this guy. Supposedly down in Arkansas, he has a warehouse full of the stuff that was in there, and he said he has like all of the Gen 1 Transformers and stuff that were stored in this warehouse. And he said he has boxes upon boxes of them. And
can I tag along onto that road trip? I mean,
come on, Big
I'm
Stu.
not a huge Transformers fan, but
the more the merrier, because he's supposed to have all the G.I. Joe stuff, all the Transformer stuff. I mean, he's supposed to have a big, like he said, he had like a 30-acre warehouse or something in Arkansas. It's just full of stuff. But he has a store in West Memphis, and he's like, "Man," he said, you need to come check my store out."
And I can hear the music playing now. Dun, 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 dun,
Road trip.
Road trip.
Yeah, road trip.
Road trip.
All right. Well, that's going to be like, I'm going to have to like get you guys to put me on a live, we'll do a live podcast when you do the road trip. I think it's about time we got out of our rooms and get out there sometime. And not only that, but do comic store visits and stuff, dropping off Hawk when you drop off Rise and Sun comics and stuff like that. I think it'll be cool to give people, an insight into the workings of Rising Sun that people don't see, a lot of what's going on, especially with the distribution and stuff. And a lot of people get to make up their own freaking minds about whether negative or positive about what goes on when you're running a comic company and stuff, especially in the indie scene, because they think that, you've got a bottomless pit of money that you can do all these things, but they don't realize that's you running around driving to places and going, "Please store our comic book. This is from so-and-so from somewhere else. This is the artist from Mexico. This is the writer from New Zealand. This is the, the illustrator from here." And of course, there's also this, there's one from Spain. This guy is the artist from Spain. And, you never heard of him before, but look at his artwork, and I think that'll be cool to do road trips and stuff like that, as well as, that's what I like to do with chat with Stu in a store, because we get to see people that end result of where these toys end up, or, where these books end up and the artwork ends up after it's been created. So let's get into like unboxing. So I'm gonna unbox this thing, and then we'll get into talking about update on our as we round off to about 2.5 hours. We round off to talking about Hawk's going to give us an update on our Kickstarter. We're almost there.
I'm gonna go
And
get
once,
something real quick.
yeah, do that, and then if you've got anything you need to get a hold of to unbox.
And while LaRue is opening that, tonight what I had was a sunrise. This is coconut rum, grenadine, and orange juice, and of course in a nice tall glass with ice. Not it not as refreshing, but this was pretty strong. So, cheers.
All right, so the one I've got today that I'm unboxing is a Megatron keychain. Like it's very, I mean, like seriously, this is a keychain, right? So let me just put me on solo here so you can see the size of this keychain, which is kind of weird because you never, it's almost like a something you hang onto your bag. So let me see if I get this right. There we go. So it came as part of this. And has this really, this piece of paper that tells you, please retain these details for future reference, not suitable for children under 36 months due to small parts. So that's it there, tells you the thing. And then you've got this here. I like to keep these things. Like for me, as someone who's, in the art scene, whatever, like design, especially design, I should say, into design, I like to keep little bits like this. I have a little plastic bag of them because it shows me, what's available out there, gets an inspiration when I'm doing my own thing. And so you've got the plastic, of course, that comes like this. It's been sitting around for a while, so it's had a bit of knocks, but because it's a keychain, I've decided not to open it for so long until now, because it's I think the only boxed Transformers toy that I have that hasn't been opened yet. So there is about 4 of them, as you can see there. You have Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, Megatron, and Starscream. Starscream looks pretty cool. Hulky little figure there at the bottom. Let me see if I can get to focus the other side. Yeah, there we go. Oh, still a bit cloudy. Sorry about that, guys. But there's the back of them. And so it comes in pieces like that. It's got a little piece that holds the chain there, right? So it doesn't like, if I got it right, yep, so that stops the chain from like the clip piece from moving around too much and damaging or scratching the figure. Now, let me think there's a tie. Nope, it just clips out. So it's quite a heavy plastic set here. It's really, really good. I mean, like for what it is, it's like it's got everything. And I think this is from the Revenge of the Fallen movie, right? So, it's got that. Let me see, is that 5 thing of articulation?
Yeah,
the head doesn't move. So this is 5 points of articulation. Am I right there, guys?
If the head doesn't move, then it'd be 4, unless the waist.
Right.
Does the waist move?
Yeah.
Yes. There you go. Yep, 5 points of articulation.
Yeah, and the cool thing is like the way that the legs move. Like you could make it run, even though it's a keychain. But like I mean, there's also I'm not sure what this is for, but there's a number on it, and it's got this little design on it, and it's weird.
Could be for a limited series.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because like it doesn't really give you. I might put an image up later, but I mean, it doesn't really give. It doesn't. It hasn't got the actual Transformers or Megatron. I mean, Decepticons or Autobot symbol there. Now, the other thing I just noticed that this is like these fingers. They actually move. Like they're soft, so they're vinyl. The legs themselves are plastic, but the hand here. Yeah, they're actually vinyl, so they're soft. And Hawk would tell you more about that than details of that than I do. But like, it's so cool to actually be able to, have something soft like that. So I am going to just keep it on the shelf like this, right? It's not going to like go on a clip to anything, keychain or anything like that, because it's such a cool figure. and I'm not sure how I got it, or maybe I picked it up as a clearance item because as you can see, it's pretty damaged, the packaging, so they couldn't put it on the shop shelf anymore, and I think I might have picked it for a couple bucks. So I'm actually quite it's really, really good. I think for a keychain, that's a lot of detail for this, and I think the softness of it really makes it works. It's a plus for me because I think just the fact that you can, the hands and fingers that move like that, you can get it to grip something, gun or whatever. But that's pretty cool little keychain. Look at the size of that compared to it's almost half the size of would be like 4-inch, sort of three and 3.75, whatever inch. Now, I noticed a smell. I was just trying to figure out what the smell was. It's got this weird smell. I thought it was like some sort of spice or something, but it's like a interesting plastic
smell.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't smell like the G1 Transformer I had earlier. That smells like an ashtray.
No, this is brand new. So it almost has like a spicy chili.
That one might have been smuggled across the border in unforeseen places.
It smelled like one of those old school McDonald's aluminum ashtrays.
Didn't we get one of those for your mom one time?
So who's next on the unboxing?
Who's got something to unbox?
Well, I went by Walmart today, and I come across this. It is the new Optimus Prime from the new movie.
Oh, okay.
So I usually don't like to open them, but this one I got on sale because it has water damage.
Right.
So now, of course, we have the typical new Hasbro packaging, no plastic, no nothing in the front. The box seems to be in pretty good shape. Let's get her open. It's got the hemp string holding him in place, as you can see right here.
Yeah. So this is the plastic ones they're putting out, or is this like the metal with plastic over the top, like the bread ties?
Right. Yeah, they quit doing that here a few years back. I guess
so
they worried about choking hazard.
Yeah. Ben, are you able to bring your camera down a bit so we can see you unpacking that thing? Or there we go, perfect.
Yeah, he's on a cardboard card.
Right.
He seems to be pretty articulate. Got his paperwork here with him.
Is that a 6-inch?
Yes, I believe it is. So let's get him untied here. Like I said, normally don't like on the newer ones. I don't like to unbox them because those are I strictly do them just for collecting purposes.
Yeah.
I tell my wife one of these days when I get close to retirement, that'll be our retirement fund.
Yeah. Because you never know what's going to be. Like, I mean, that's my, kind of like my comics will become my retirement fund or something.
Whatever story you could tell her.
Hey, was it you that shared that little meme, Big Stu, the other day about like prizes and stuff?
Oh yeah. You don't ask a woman how much she weighs. You don't ask a man how much he makes. And you don't ask a toy collector how much he spent on a toy in front of his wife.
That's right. That's right.
Well, most time I have to ask permission, so he already knows what I paid for.
There it is. So yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
It's so fitting because we've got we're opening Optimus Prime right now.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, this was like my all-time favorite was Optimus Prime when it come to the toy line. Right. Even though I always wanted the Megatron, but it wasn't until '87 me and my brother got a Power Master Optimus Prime before we actually ever got one, and Optimus Prime itself. And I remember he was so cool. because he come with a little dude that popped in his chest, and then he combined with his trailer. So not only did you have like a regular Optimus Prime, but you had like a Super Optimus Prime. So
my favorite Transformer is Galvatron, mainly because Leonard Nimoy voiced him. And
okay.
And in the movie, he seemed like he was a lot meaner than any of the other Transformers at the time. He was pretty intense in the movie.
So it seems to be
carry on.
Seems to be pretty well articulated. It seems to trying to see how easy he doesn't seem to be too complicated, but
yeah.
You know, the thing about this Prime is they always all transform close to the same.
Yeah. Now, while Ben's doing that, I was going to ask a question about. So I've got this figure here from, I can't remember which movie, Bumblebee is from, but I keep running into this problem when I'm putting it together, that this doesn't fold properly. So if you can see that, it doesn't lie flat. There we go. So it sticks out like that. So when it's on the, when it's actually lying flat, it's always sticking like, there we go. It's got this little piece there that sticks out of the bottom. Is it supposed to do that, Ben? So this part
I don't believe it is. Most of them, they were supposed to have clearance on the bottom so they would actually roll.
Yeah. So I don't know. I've been trying so hard to fix it. I mean, put it together like that, but it's not working.
It looks like that was probably something you were supposed to put down before you put the front down.
Yeah, but like the problem here is it's got this. Hold on, let me just pop that on there so you can actually see. It's supposed to actually be on top, right? So see this little piece here, right? That only fits into this little piece over there. So it can't go on the bottom.
Huh.
So yeah, but if you're doing it, it pokes out like that.
Well, what's it catching on though? I mean, is it catching on the front end of the car, or is it catching on something underneath it?
It's underneath it. So it's here, there, so it's not lying flat. So I can't figure out how, and I don't want to force it because I've forced it. You can't really force anything on a transformer, right? Because you end up breaking the damn thing.
That's why I'm going to only collect the ones that don't transform.
Yeah. So you end up
because my solution was there's a hammer just.
Yeah, you end up breaking it because they're so freaking thin in places. Like, look at that, right?
Yeah.
Just a little bent and you're out. And so I kind of didn't want to force it until I knew someone who actually has one of these and has got it right. But yeah, how's that going there, Ben? You got it done?
I'm getting there. I don't know if there's a piece missing for his chest or what, but I missed something.
Does he come with a gun? Or do they not do them?
He's got a gun right here.
Right.
How similar to transforming is that one to the original G1?
It's pretty close, but it's also it's in a way it's very different. It's got kind of the same concept, but the arms and stuff are in different places than where they are on the original. So
slightly more complex.
Yeah. The thing I'm trying to figure out is
what number is this to your collection, there, Ben?
Do what?
Sorry, what number is this to your collection? Like, how many of them have you got now? And are we looking at 100, 200, 300?
In so long, I've probably got well over 3,000 of them.
Wow.
So
my numbers were way off. Wow. 3,000.
Well, I'd say pretty close. I've got, I don't know, There's some places are 3 or 4 deep.
Right.
That's the number to beat, Big Stu. That's the number to beat right there. 3,000.
3,000.
Yeah, for your GI Joe collection.
I don't have that many. I don't have that many.
Yeah.
So the only problem I have
I'm-
is it seems like every day they come out with about 5 more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they know they know what's working for them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
And
so
the problem with
Yeah.
GI Joe is there's always 3 more figures that come out, but it's always Snake Eyes or Storm Shadow or Blowtorch.
yeah.
There's only so many of those that I want.
Yeah. Did you?
I am jealous. I am jealous
Yeah.
of the Transformer fan base. They have not since 1984, since or 1982. There's not been a time when Transformers has not been on the pegs on the toy stores. There has not been one year that there wasn't a Transformer on the pegs. Where GI Joe, we're sitting here trying like, come on, just give us something, and then we all get excited about mediocre releases, you know, and that's what really stinks, you know. And now I'm sitting here 3 years away from 50.
Yeah.
And
However,
now we're getting the nice 6-inch figures finally, and I'm kind of like, I think I'm done. I think I'm just gonna go to just look for vintage figures that I want to get.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not gonna clamor at or I'm going to put my money into new figures. You know that you know, upstarts of other GI Joe fans.
I'm right there with you, Big Stu. I am.
I mean,
so
dude, it's
So-
so I'm so jealous of the Transformer fans. They've had Transformers forever, and we, you know, GI Joe fans, we just wish we would get something once in a while.
however, in recent times, in the last year or two, IDW almost destroyed the whole thing with comics. They also almost destroyed the cartoon series aimed at young kids with their so-called trans agenda, with like discussions that they had with young kids, and putting them one of the Transformer characters talking to a young girl or young boy, whatever, about bringing this ideology into Transformers. And I remember, I think it was Elon Musk who basically ripped them a big one, saying like, it's binary, right? You know, it's binary. You're trying to like bring that sort of stuff into robots, and like, why using robots? You know, this well-loved franchise, and to teach ideology into that, much like what what Disney's been doing with all their art and that side of things. But like, they've lost $1.2 billion by doing that.
Right.
So imagine if Hasbro didn't pull the plug. It is Hasbro, right? Didn't pull the plug on IDW. That's where they would have went where Disney's sitting right now with comics.
And that blows my mind away, because we had that problem in GI Joe, 6 years ago with Aubrey Sitterson.
Are you talking about Snake Eyes?
No. With the GI Joe comics, they got a writer that was coming in, and he was doing, my goodness, he was doing so much stuff and the fans were just like, we're not having that. You know, this is not what we want. And
Scarlet Strike Force was the name of the comic.
Was it Scarlet Strike Force? And I mean, it was horrible.
That wasn't what got him in trouble, though. What got him in trouble was Larry Hama had posted Larry Hama had said, you know, a remembrance for everyone in 9/11, because Larry lives in New York, right? Aubrey lives in New York too. And then Aubrey made a comment that didn't land well with everybody in his comment, as he commented on what Larry said, and then it just ended up in this huge backlash and this wash, you know, and there was a lot of odd ideas that were coming at GI Joe at that time, but I thought that's what got Aubrey in trouble, was his comments on 9/11.
That and it is he was starting to put a lot of wokeism and anti-American themes into his storytelling.
I can't understand I can't understand what is it about Americans that can't come to terms with the fact, shit happened in the past, excuse my language, and it happens. It happens in every culture. In our culture, it's happened. In India, it's happened. We had partition in India where people did some terrible things to Muslim Indians, right? That they actually pushed them out into Pakistan. We understand that, right? We know that it's part of the history. We know that even out in diaspora, I'm like a 6th generation Indian from India living in Fiji, right? My parents came over here. My grandparents, great parents came over here as indentured laborers, right? So almost like 3 years of slavery, right? And we know that's in Fiji. We know that's in our culture. We also know that a Fiji culture has cannibalism in their culture, right? That's how you got your protein, right? In the islands, right?
Right.
But now you can accept that it's there, acknowledge it, cool. But how is it that you come to represent your country and hate on your country to the international community? I don't understand that. When I come on here, I go, beautiful New Zealand, because I do believe it's beautiful New Zealand.
Oh, yeah.
I love my city. I love my country. I love my new home. Right. I'm an adopted son of New Zealand. As a migrant. My parents. My dad's European English. He's white. He's from Coronation Street in London. Manchester. And my mum's Indian from Fiji, and she's a 4th, 5th generation from India, right? So we're both migrants, and so I don't understand, as just about every majority of the world is migrants, right? We move from place to place, so we know that every place we've come from has some sort of issues, and acknowledging that is cool, and accepting that is cool. But when do you get out there and start? When you're on the international community, start putting down your country and not willing to sing your anthem when you're on a place where you're supposed to sing your anthem. And that sort of thing really, dogs me, because I think I'm like, how can you actually accept the money, right? Get paid for it, yet not put your country first above your own ideology, because here you're getting paid by your own countrymen and by the people who love the sport or whatever it is, or love this toy or love this brand. But you got to be so big for your own head to put yourself first above all of it. And then it's like,
because we as a whole in this country, on the entertainment side of things, and I think it's the entertainment side of influence, want to demonize success and make sure everybody is a victim of some sort.
Yeah.
And instead of focusing that, this is one of the few countries in the world that you can come over, and it's been proven. If you come over this country legally, you can be one of the most successful. You can be as successful as you want.
Yeah.
There are several people that have come on over without anything that are now multi-millionaire billionaires.
Yeah.
And they've done it on their own. But it's this ideology of, corporate America is bad, but nobody understands that corporate America took a lot of people out of poverty.
Yeah.
That corporate America is sustaining a lot of countries that depend on
China,
on labor that we produce.
All our toys are made in China.
Make our stuff, and the bad thing is if everybody in this country got on board and decided, you know what, we're not going to have China, Mexico, or any other country build our stuff. We're going to go ahead and have it all built here. That the economy in the world would be really in a bad place. Would be in a really bad place if we all decide, because absolutely everything that we have, that we consume, can be made here in the United States. without a doubt, and
Yep.
and better at some points.
Mm.
But yeah, and I think it all comes down to demonizing corporations,
Yep.
wanting to include everybody without recognizing that what America got us, what America did for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And
I mean, like,
sorry,
there's like
that's
no,
my
no,
take on my
you're
family. I didn't
100%
mean to do
correct on
that,
that.
but
There's so many native, like Indians from India, Asians from China, Japan, wherever, who've come across nothing to their name, got educated there, and now are multimillionaires, if not billionaires, right? And just they're not the ones who hate it. It's the other ones around who like going, oh yeah, we got to do this. But here's the thing: this is made in Vietnam, right? I don't know. We said like 2001 or something. It came out. So this one's made in Vietnam. I think this one might be made in China, And so all these ideas, this one's definitely made in China, right? So, you've got all these toys, and of course Japan, right? With Tamiya with their line metal ones. These are actually die cast, by the way, if I remember right. So you've got these franchises that have been developed in, either or, right? Developed in by creative people in who educated in America and so forth, come up with these ideas and like Superman, Batman, X-Men, all these things. Now out of that, you're able to create small businesses who have become huge entities right now because somebody actually put together a design or came up with an idea for, say, a comic book, right, or character. And now the character over 80 years, like Superman, has blown up, right? Like there's nobody in the world that does not know it unless they were born yesterday. Like, I mean, unless they're about 2 years old or something. Even they can recognize it, right? That, I was told yesterday that a 3-year-old kid is a Batman fan, right? And so when my taxi driver said, hey, if you find anything Batman, it's very young, so you can't have, toys or anything yet. But anything cuddly, soft toy or a blanket or anything, let me know. I'll grab it and we'll go give it to I'll buy it. And so even a 3-year-old knows what Batman is. So these wherever the clothing's been manufactured, the duvet cover's been manufactured, right? That's somebody there is able to get employed, creating, putting that together, printing and all that. This whole idea that capitalism is wrong, it's the only thing that's, like you said, it's lifted us out of poverty, right? It's allowed us to actually say, as long as I have a talent or a skill, if I put my mind to it and I put my head down and I just do the work, and probably meet the right people, network, whatever, but I'll be able to get this out there. Like, it's a nice segue into like Vertigo, but we'll get there soon. But, I think I just don't understand it. Right, I just don't understand it.
It's brainwashing in our colleges and our schools and in the entertainment system of capitalism is bad. Capitalism is bad. Look, they make these kids make these phones over here as they're tweeting on it on their phone that this kid made.
That hypocrisy of it all.
They don't realize that if we stop buying that phone, that kid would no longer be able to feed his family. Capitalism is responsible for pulling more people out of poverty than any other economic system in the world. Period.
There is also this whole. There is a balance to that as well, right? So I remember when Nike was paying $99, like extra. You had to pay like $99 on a dollar shoe, right? Being made in Indonesia. Now, the way that Nike was doing at that point, this is in the 90s, right, was very wrong because they're basically treating it like a slavery, like a cheap sweatshop labor. Now, we at this point should be, I can understand that there's certain things you have to have a bit of responsibility on, and that is hold the big, those guys to task. But you can't at the same time say it's bad because you got to bring a bit of, understanding to the idea. Like, okay, you're making $1 billion of it. Well, at least make sure that in that country, at least do something good. But here's a problem: in that own country, the dollar isn't, the labor is really cheap. and then those people there that are running that country are very corrupt. And so it's something out of hand. Like even if you pay that money, it never reaches the people at the ground floor. And so you can't.
Then you also have to come back to the consumer. Yeah, I want to take these people out of poverty. I want to pay them more, whatever. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm all for it.
But what do you do?
Wait a second. I got to pay $20 for this? Nah, I ain't into that. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. I think sometimes there's people just are so hypocritical that you don't see themselves for their own hypocrisy. And I think I'm seeing a backlash to that now. I'm seeing people saying that's enough. We've had enough of this, and it's all around now. Everybody's like saying, yeah, that's enough. Enough, Disney. We know you're hypocritical. You're saying one thing and doing another thing. But I just hope that like this doesn't last any longer, because it's going to destroy so many people, lives because of it. Like people are going to lose jobs and like be able to provide for their families because of this keeps going. And I just hope that it doesn't last that long. Big Stu, do you want to show your toy? And we'll get your final piece.
I didn't bring anything to open. These are things that I had. I just wanted to do like a show and tell of something. So I wanted to show you two pieces. Okay, and I'm gonna open them up both.
Yeah.
So
Snake Eyes.
No,
right.
Storm Shadow.
Storm Shadow. Okay.
Storm Shadow, 100% complete. And then I got another Storm Shadow. Now the challenge, trying to figure out where the camera's at.
Those are really pretty.
Yeah, really white too.
Really white. Yeah.
So one of them is not an original.
Okay.
Could you tell me which one isn't? Which one is not the original one?
I'll let someone else take a pass.
The one on your left.
The one on my left, this one?
No. On your right, because it's too white.
So you think this one's the knockoff?
Yeah.
Oh, you're correct.
Yeah.
You can tell by the logo, the color of the logo on the chest.
So this comes from a small company, Black Major, and I guess they got some of the molds, or I don't know how they did it. Maybe Hawk knows a little bit more, but they made for a little while they were making some of the G.I. Joe figures, all different types of colors. Like you can get this guy, all sorts of colors now, and but they were making them very much the same way as the originals were made. They reproduced the backpack that is really hard to keep and hold everything with it. And the cool thing is with the backpack, and it's even in the 80s one. I'm not going to open the 80s one because that one's there, but I can put all of his weapons on there. So like his bow, his swords.
Let me get that back on solo. Sorry.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. His swords, came out. And then you could open up the backpack itself. See if I can get this done without destroying it. And then inside, and this one is missing his nunchucks that were in here. But yeah. So the inside has some, this is exactly the same of what was made in 1983 or 84 when the figure came out.
Right.
So it's pretty cool that it was that it has that much detail on it, and he's able to carry all of his stuff,
Yeah. Can you move it towards in front of your chest? There we go. Excellent. Yeah. Just up a bit. Yep. Perfect. Oh wow.
Yeah. So then so he has a little dot right here. So a little dot, and then on the bow there's a little hole. Trying to see if I can find the hole. There it is. See the little hole right here?
So it just clips in.
And it just clips into the bow. Of course, my hands are too big now than when I was 8.
Yeah, I'm having trouble with that with my eyesight, like not being able to see words like text, and like it's like having to have a torch, so
Yeah.
just so I can actually look at the friggin' details. I was trying to
Yeah.
put together a Lego set this week. I had a problem with that. That is such a cool. Yeah, I wonder if this actual model molds that they got, from whoever was creating the originals, and then kept the mold and run off the whole bunch of, or maybe, backyard dealings, or, behind in the backroom dealings to get the mold,
Well, I mean, if you feel the toy itself, the plastic is a little bit different than the original toy, but I mean,
Right.
it is super close to what we got in the 80s. And then but like I'm not sure how they did it. They may have taken one of these figures from the 80s and made their own molds, or scanned it on a 3D printer or 3D whatever they do. I'm not.
Well, that's the thing with technology, right? I mean, like they do with green screen, they just map it. What's it called? Like mapping.
Like a map scan, like a laser scan.
I don't know. It'd be interesting. Let's get the Black Major on here and pick his brain about it. That would be pretty cool.
Heck yeah. Get Black Major on here so I can ask him for free stuff.
Right. Hey! I'm all the way down here, so don't leave me out of it, okay? Just because I'm all the way down to the bottom of the world.
Hey, you gotta take care of yourself, man.
I'm trying to figure out how we're going to get a Roo on this road trip we're planning. I'm thinking about putting him on a,
on a one-way flight.
one of those things that we could put his. I know we could put his phone on a drone and just fly the drone around everywhere.
Yeah, we could do that. Or we could
Bad idea. Bad idea.
We could send him a huge box and he could just ship himself here. That'd probably be a lot cheaper.
It's possible. But technology, we've come a long way, where you can just walk around with a mobile phone and I'll be able to.
I didn't hear it.
And I'm sure everybody else, will enjoy the road trip as well. I mean, we'll be able to talk to, this gentleman with all this stuff. And I'm sure, it'll be great to not only that gentleman, like a lot more people being able to see, do site visits to artist homes and stuff like that, do in-person interviews and stuff that we can't get to do, but there. But this is a joy of technology, and this is what we're talking about capitalism and stuff. This is what it does.
Real quick, on these two figures, just real quick, I just want to show you. So the difference between the Black Major and this one, the original 83 or 84, I can't remember exactly. I can get him for about $30 to $40. The Black Major one, he's going for almost $200 now.
Right.
The original, OG. The OG. Yeah, and especially with this one not being very faded.
Yeah.
Not fade, hardly any fade on that one at all. So those are that Storm Shadow is probably one of my favorite toys that I have right now, just because of how pristine it is.
Ben, do you want to show off the finished Transformers?
Yeah, I'm afraid,
Optimus Prime.
He's missing some pieces. He's missing his chest. I didn't notice that when I bought him, but he was real easy to transform. So
it's pretty cool. It's almost like a pickup truck, isn't it?
Right.
Even though it's a Mack, but I mean,
for comparison, let me. This is this is not a G1, but this is the Red. Came out, or no, it's a 2007 Optimus Prime. He's missing his top, but to put him in perspective. So
very cool.
The color variances and stuff like that. You've got the more silver on that one. Yeah. Can you have it facing us, both of them facing with their face towards us? There you go. So that's the piece that we're missing there. Yeah. So how much did you pick it up on clearance?
Do what? Oh, it was water damaged box is what it said. Because it's a new toy. It just came out, but it said the box is water damaged.
Right.
So I couldn't resist on buying it.
Yeah. Right now, Hawk, have you finished with your show and tell, or have you got something else to show us?
I think I'll hold off on the show and tell. We've got to get to Incredigrow. We got to talk about
Right.
Incredigrow.
Let me get her on the screen. And let me.
All right, so
Give me 1 sec. Don't rush me here.
for you,
Don't rush it. I should say,
for those
don't rush
of you
ahead
that
of
are
me
just
here.
tuning in, I'm just going to get everyone caught up. For those
Yeah.
of you that are just tuning in, we are running a Kickstarter campaign right now for Incredigrow. It's one of our comic books that we've got coming out. Aru has written this story, and we have several wonderful artists working on it. Kevin Zimmerman's doing pencils. Hugo Aquino is doing the colors, and you know it's coming along quite nicely. And we want to talk about that campaign as we always do. Give you guys an update as to where we're at. So we are at 82%, 82%, 25 backers, and 3 days to go. We need $160, and this campaign has hit its goal. $160 in 3 days is what we've got left. So that's pretty awesome. Thank you guys so much for your support. We really appreciate that. You know, we're almost there. We're almost there.
The joy about this is like if you guys back it now.
As I always love to do this.
Yeah.
There is still several of those big spots that are still open. One person wants to swing in and grab that 150 spot open. That puts us over the goal. There's still several of these tiers that are open. So we're all in tier. We still have one spot of those open. And I believe if we scroll up from there, Aru, if you please. So what do you get with that? Well, let's go back. Let's go back.
Which one are we talking about?
Let's go back to the all in. Let's go back to the all in. I want to talk about that.
That is the Black Diamond tier, or
no, the all in. So what do you get with the all in tier? $150. Basically, you get a half page ad space to do whatever you want in here. You can talk about whatever you want to do. You can talk about yourself. You can talk about your kink, whatever you want to go. So
PG.
Oh no, you can't talk about that. It's PG.
Yeah, this is a PG book, guys.
I'm sorry, you can't do that. But we could showcase you. We could do an article on you. We can promote whatever you guys want to promote in there for that 150 tier. And let's scroll up a little bit, and we're going to go talk about the next tier. There we go, our Black Diamond tier, at $100. And I believe we have 4 of those left for the Black Diamond tier.
Yeah,
and
4 left of 5.
4. There's only 4 left. There's only 4 left of that tier. And what that gets you drawn in the book. The 150 tier, the all in, gets you drawn in the book with a speaking role. This one gets you drawn in the book as a background character. So this is how you can get into Incredigrow.
How to get immortalized in a comic book for forever.
Right. That's right. Sealed in it. All right. Let's scroll up a little more. So I think we still have a couple tiers. So we've got 9 copies left of our blue diamond tier. And this is the wraparound cover that you're taking a look at right here. This is the exclusive part of that. Plus you get everything that came before it. In each tier, you're getting everything that came before it. So this is going to get you all the covers plus this wraparound cover here, which is an exclusive done by Shane Evans. And
it's a full foil. Yeah. And this is a New Zealand artist, a very, very close friend of mine, lives down the road from me. And the reason this black spot here is actually a character that we don't want to spoil yet. That's why that's got that the rectangle spot there on it. But once it's out there, you won't see this. You'll have the full color foil version out there. Here on Hawk.
All right, well, let's go up just a little bit more. We want to talk about that pink diamond tier. We don't have, no one's grabbed the pink diamond yet, so no one's jumped on that pink diamond exclusive. But this is going to get you cards and everything else with it. And then from there, I'm going to jump over and let's talk about the process of the artwork. So I'm not going to go through any more tiers. Go check out the Kickstarter campaign and take a look at it. But there's a lot of new artwork that's shown up. Can we show some of Hugo's new artwork that he's just done this week?
Yeah, the colors and stuff. So you've got this one, which we already had, but now was it this one? There we go.
There it is.
This is the latest ones that's come in.
So
And,
he's grown quite a bit. You can see he's doing a lot of brush work. It's coming in very nicely. Look at this beautiful zip tone, process he's got down on the blue. See it right around the ring of the edge. So it's a nice blend of everything. He's working across it all. It's very, very nice. And it's almost a rainbow roll of effective colors that he's working on it. So I think it's turning out really quite nice, really quite pretty. With all of that work, and that I think his experience is really starting to pay off on that Kevin Zimmerman's artwork, which of course looks amazing.
Yeah. Let me just show you his pencils. So this is Kevin's work on the pencils, just the inking and stuff like that. And so much detail. And then having Hugo come in and color it, it's just amazing. I'm just, so
Like
grateful
seen,
for having this team.
I've seen that colored somewhere. Where is it at? Is it on the Kickstarter?
Let me just check if I think I put it out online on our Facebook page. Let me just pop over and see if I can share that. Give me one sec, so you guys get to see.
Well, while that's going on, I also want to talk about this. So what you're looking at here at the very top of this is actually the cards. So we've been working on getting together everything that needs for the Kickstarter campaign. This is going to be one of the cards, from my knowledge. Is that correct, Aru?
Yeah, this one is it, are we looking at the Incredigo one? Yeah, this is the Incredigo one. So this is Kevin colored and illustrated that one.
Yep. So Kevin did all of the work on this one. And do we have any of the other cards that are listed? Because I know we've been looking at a few of them.
Let me just let me show you this one first. Let me pop this out, and I'm going to show you the art that you wanted to see. Oops. Let me see.
I was surprised. I was surprised when I saw this image. I really was. It wasn't what I was expecting.
Right. So this is what we were looking at. Neither. I was like, whoa, okay, this is cool. I didn't expect him to do this to it. Like this is what he chose, right? So I didn't go, hey, this is, normally with our colors, I just go, I want the logo to be this, and I want the colors for the character to be like this. That's it. I don't go to say, this character here lying on the on the road there to have this sort of clothing, the color to be this clothing or whatever, and all that so on. I was surprised that this is his interpretation of it, right? Of Hugo just deciding to do this color.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised too when I saw this. I was like, I really wasn't expecting a blood washed sky,
Yeah,
in this piece.
But
everything
so
kind of
dramatic. It's so cool.
Yeah. So it's coming along pretty nice, and I even like the spotlight set. It's being cast back there, and kind of that reverse, or that push against the red spectrum, the red side of the spectrum, the blue. And here they are mixing again right behind her. So I think it's really quite cool. That was pretty.
I'm gonna zip back to the other one so you guys can see what we're talking about here with the artwork, right? So what Kevin gave us, right, and what and then what we got from Hugo on that. Like seriously, you didn't. I mean, any normal colorist will go blue sky, right, white clouds, right, and then here comes Hugo and goes, you know what? No. I'm gonna give you something else. And one thing you didn't see before, there was shadows that he'd put in.
Yeah. There's shadows over top of her. But Kevin's artwork here is killing it.
Yeah.
It's really quite good. So so when it goes to Hugo, and Hugo knocks it out with his thing, it's a win on top of a win. So
but it's like those guys, they're challenging each other to do better against each other. Like Hugo's like, oh, you got this great artwork, let me show you what I can do with my colors.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go back and since we're talking about this, please go support our campaign. And I would like to give a shout out to those people that have supported our campaign, as I do in every one of these as we come along. So we're going to talk about that. very briefly, for those people that have supported us. I know we talked about Moni Gurney last week that supported us. Thank you so much. If I wanted to make sure that your name gets in there. There's Craig Hackey that supported us. Thank you for your support. Geek Avenger also supported us a few days ago. I might get this name wrong, but I'm going to try it anyway. Raleigh Niaze.
Right. So the other day, the last interview I did was with John Del Arroz. He's a writer for Bounding into Comics. I interviewed him. He's also an accomplished novelist, sci-fi novelist, and fantasy writer, as well as a comic book guy. So I interviewed him. While I interviewed him, he put out on his desktop that he was going to appear on the podcast, right? So while he's his whole bunch of his guys show up, and they're like watching us do the interview, and they're there. Hey, they jump in and start supporting the Kickstarter. So I'm grateful for those guys. They really, they came out and supported hard out. Not only him being on the podcast as his fans, right, of his books and stuff, but also coming out to support us with our Kickstarter. So I'm just so thankful for that. That's
Aru, not only did he spread the word, he also backed the campaign. So, John, Thank you very much for backing the campaign 2 days ago.
Yep.
So that's very awesome. We had Eric Olson who backed the campaign. Thank you very much, Eric. Patricia Turin Burgos, who backed the campaign. She's after that B variant cover. So thank you, Preciso. I think it may be how it's pronounced. Thank you.
So I'm just going to quickly
Nick Helms. Oh, go ahead. I was going to finish. We still got more to roll through here, Rue.
Yeah, one sec. I'm just going to put, if you guys want to check that interview out, if you haven't watched it already. So here's a link to it, right, with the John Del Arroz. And I want to share that because he had some really cool things to say, because he's a commentator on pop culture as well, being a writer for Bounding into Comics, right? So check that out on there. And so this is, if you write, Plunge season 1, episode 20, right? So he's out of California. He's a great guy. He did so much for us, and I just want to put that out there. And look, we are about networking, right, with our indie creators. Like you just saw what happens when you network with people, when you make friends with people. They have their own fan base that comes out to support you, and we just want to make sure that we acknowledge that, and we want to acknowledge his fan base, because hey, just because you write like something else doesn't mean you stop supporting somebody else. So we're the same way. We want to support that. My way of supporting others is by using my mouth, right, out here, sharing their podcast, getting them to interview. So if you know any indie creators that you love, especially in the comic scene, doesn't matter if they do mature comics, or they do for all ages, or they're novelists, or they're artists, let them know that we're doing this out here. We want to network with them and have them on our podcast and share. And also our backers, we'd love for you to come out and say, hey, why you backed us? What was it about this that spoke to you? Because we want to know why you would go out and back something from down here in New Zealand when you have the entire world to choose from, right? And because that sort of helps us to understand, what we can do better. Because I want feedback as well for this. And because, we're out here, we've got our issues written, 6 issues. We're working on issue 2, halfway through it now. Artwork keeps coming in. As soon as it comes in, I start lettering it. And just, I love what we've got going on. And I want to build this for future for us to make sure that we support other creators as well. And we're grateful. Take it away, Hawk.
Okay. So, Patricio, thank you, man, for that, for your support, of your pledge. We appreciate that. Nick Helms, thank you for your support. We also have Jeff Bennington, who supported. Oh my goodness. Thank you, dude. Hey, he was our blue tier supporter. Thank you, Jeff, so much. Thank you. We also had Doghouse 059, who jumped in and pledged to get in on this just an hour ago. So thank you for that pledge. So we're right there, guys. Thank you so much for all of your help getting us this far. We really appreciate it. We want to try and do this right. We want to try and make everyone proud to be associated with Rising Sun and Plunge, and so right now we're at 82% on this Kickstarter, 25 backers. We've only got 3 days to go, 3 days, and that's it. And this is over. So we need a little bit of help to get us there. $160 is where we're at in this campaign. So please jump on and support and help getting Credit Girl #1 to that launch phase. So there you go. That's our update.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, look, we've on this cover alone, on this page alone, we have Kevin Zimmerman's artwork, right? That's him with his own cover A, his artwork, his inking, his illustration, and his colors. Over here on next to it in the white, we have our this year we had our Plunge convention in April. Normally we have it in July. So I got James Hill to do a cover for a character for us, because we're looking at doing this as a toy. And I said, hey, can you do this character for us? And then I went and did the flats on this cover and this artwork, and then I took away everything that was behind it, which you'll see on the actual the poster for it. You'll see. Let me just grab it here if I can.
Hold the presses. Hold the presses. I got something.
Okay.
It just came in right now.
Yep.
Here we go. We are now at 88%. We only need $108 to get us over the thing. $108 because Big Stu himself has just pledged a red diamond tier. Thank you, Stu. We appreciate it.
Now, what is a red diamond? Like, hold on. Let me find out where the red diamond is. Red diamond
right here. It's live, happening right now.
That's right.
Yep.
Well, I have to support my man. I have to support my boys, man. So.
Awesome.
That's right, and vice
Thank
versa.
You, Stu.
So, and I really dig the art. I think the art looks incredible. And the one picture that you showed, I think it's on the red tier. One of the card art that you had, that was like, I got to get that. I got to get that card. And I don't want to just ask Hawk just to give me one.
Well, you talking about this one here, or you talking about this one?
Go the other one, I believe.
Yeah,
I think it's that one. There was another one that was kind of like that.
Oh, you're talking about like I think you're talking about Nano, our nanite-based character, like partner, which is like the green blue figure you're talking about.
It may have been that one. It was one of the cards that was like, oh, I like that. So I have to look at it.
We're going to change the background to that, but we're going to, like, for the actual, because the next issue, we're going to put that as a variant cover for the next issue, because I love the artwork so much when he did it. And I was like, okay, we'll change the background for the next, for issue 2. So it's different from the card, right? And plus, it's such a beautiful artwork for that character. I think that's the best one that he's done for that character. So much detail. Because Nano's a character we're never going to tell you how he came to be. His origin story will never be told. That's one thing that I've wanted to keep secret in this universe, that Nano's never been told. I hope I'm held to that, and people will tell me off if I ever try to come out and say it. So here's my word. Nano will never be told how he came to be. I know exactly how he came to be. I have already got an idea in my head, like a one page. So my thought is that there will be a special tier that you could only get this one page artwork where it tells you that this is how he came to be, and that person who owns it
special
might be
tier.
It'll be one off. Only 3 will ever be made with that in the book. And
no, we're not doing that. We're going to do a exclusive comic where only 3 are going to be made.
That's what I meant. Exclusive comic where only 3 issues are ever made. And that was like, because like this is a joy of being able to do independent stuff, right? Because like you're saying, like there was only 25 toys ever created of that. So this will be only 3. Of course, and here's the problem.
And it's going to have a gold foil, true 24 karat gold foil cover.
But here's the thing: like when we say like there's going to be 3 ever made, that's 3 available to the public, because we'll still have about at least 7 for ourselves, so we can have it amongst our own. Because I know the artist will want one, I know the writer will want one, I know the publisher will want one, and of course the illustrator will want one, and the colorist, and of course we might want to give it to to our family members, right? Especially I'll give one to my niece because it'll be her, So yeah, kind of like a lot of time people go, oh, there's only 5 in the world. It's like no, there's about another 10 in their back room for their own family, and I got to be honest about that. When you're doing like one-off type of things, like same thing like here, right?
Right. Rising Sun, we have what is it? We have 5 archives. Is it 5? I think there's 5. Aru has one at his place. I've got one at mine, where there is at least one preem copy of everything ever printed that goes into that archive.
Yeah.
So that way, because we've had problems in the past where artwork has gotten lost, and so we kind of that's an idea that we scooped up from Mattel and Hasbro and everyone else along the way.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I want to quickly talk about what the Plunge universe is, right? So I've been on different podcasts, and we talked about why this first book has to be all ages, and it's got to be for anybody that can pick up and give it to anyone. Whereas we've got other series that are coming out from the Plunge universe that are mature readers. So, and the content is more mature, aimed at older readers. But this one is especially for anybody to just, it can sit anywhere. You can hand it to anybody to read and it'll be fine. So this is quite why, we could have made, a lot of money, reached a lot of higher tier goals because of if we did a lot of, more mature covers and stuff. But this is one I fought to make sure that we kept it as a PG, as our flagship character, and because it's very important to me and it's one to our family for this character, because it's a family, named and kind of like character for the for my niece. Now, is there anything else you want to talk about this before we move off this topic?
No, I'm just so thankful for everyone that's come on and helped see your vision to fruition, Aru. This has been a wonderful road to walk down with you, and I'm very pleased that we're almost there. I think it's come along wonderfully. And I remember whenever you told me, you said, I don't want to put out Incredi-Girl this way. And I was like, wait a second. Whoa. You'd already been working on it for years at that point. And I was like, are you sure? Like, I mean, maybe we should just put this out and go to the next round. And you said, no, I want it to be the best representation that it can be. And I said, okay, well, it's your character, it's your process, your story. So, and then you redid it and it looks so much better. So props to Kevin, props to Hugo, props to Shane, props to you for sticking to your guns and wanting to put out a better product. So
she looks amazing. I mean, like seriously, like I'd put this book anywhere next to any Marvel or of DC comic book, because we worked so hard to make this book as good as it can be, right? And at the end of the day, if you can't put a book out that you're proud of, what's the point of it? I think you want to put out the best product you can, and I think our guys did really good work. I mean, like on this one alone, there's myself, Hugo, and James who did this work. So James did the artwork, and you notice that this is the full background of the poster we're going to put out, right?
Well, don't leave me out on that, Aru. Now, come on.
So the thing here is, you notice that on this one here, there is no background, and that's the one we use on the poster. And that's what I was trying to get back to. It's like that. So we did a whole bunch of artwork that we just changed the things so we could put it out there as a poster. But also, with this one here, there's 3 of us working on this, and not to, of course, with what Hawk is alluding to is that he's the one who's been running this and setting up the actual tiers and everything, and that's why he's managing here and giving all the updates, because he's the guy who's been looking after our Kickstarter. I'm
Well,
just out there promoting the links
what
at
I
this
was
point.
what I was alluding to was, you know, we had, when Rue runs covers by me, he's like, "Hey, what do you think of this?" And I'm like, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, "Okay, does this work?" So there was a cover that we had worked on previously for another book that's going to come out soon,
Mm.
and I said, "Why don't you mock it up in Photoshop?" So you can get a kind of an idea of what we wanted, what we were going at.
Yeah.
And he mocked up this idea in Photoshop, and then he sent it over to James Hill, who did this artwork you're looking at right
Mm.
now. And it came out so good. It came out
Yeah.
very dramatic, came out
Yeah.
very thing. And what Aru's done since then is he's taken that process of doing a mock-up, a kit bash, so to
Yeah.
speak, of the artwork that he's wanting to do. And that's what I was referring to here, because this was a kit
Yeah.
bash of him putting the images together of how he wants James to approach it, which gives James a more clear path for what he's going to
Yeah.
pencil on the page. So
I would like to share that. I would share it, but it's, I don't
no,
know. I like to keep up
yeah.
best
Well,
up on
that's
its
another
own.
campaign.
Yeah. But so, like I said, we've got, we've had to like put James off his own title, right? Stop him doing his own work on the title he's working on. He's working on a series called Templeton Rise and Fall. And so I've had to say, hey, James, stop doing that and come and do some covers here and do some covers here. And so in amongst, everything he's going on with his life, he's just been able to give us so much time, and I really appreciate it. Now, what I was trying to say here about the colors is that he did the work, I colored the flats, and then I handed the flats over to Hugo, who then redid it again, knowing which color tones I wanted what what color the brick, the bricks are on this. So what I mean by that, it's like, this is actually in London. So this is the London Eye, right? So I wanted her, because the story is based in London, I wanted to have an image that we could represent London. And everybody knows the London Eye, right? And so that's why this is on there. And so I'm just so glad that we were able to put that. And I think that's the only thing that, and this is a poster for it. Isn't that right, Hook? This is the poster of the
Yeah.
that
This
we're
is the
putting out.
poster, and then
Yeah.
we did actually reuse the center image for a couple covers because we thought it
Yeah.
might work in a couple foil variants.
Yeah, so those are the two
Like
there. You can see the white and black.
Yeah.
So you got a spot foil. This is the white one here with a white background. Then you got the full foil, which is a black background. And yeah, let's pop out of that. So is there anything? Do you guys want to show us anything else in finishing here? Big Stu, do you want to talk about your shop? Ben, is there anything that you're doing that you want to let people know? Of course, Hawk will talk about Rising Sun soon, and we'll finish up with him last.
So I'm 1.21 gigawatts here in Borger, Texas, 601 North Main Street, Borger, Texas. Come on in this week. We're celebrating the life of Pee Wee Herman this week. Get 20% off of any purchase of $20 or more if you come in and say the secret word. And
I kind of think I know what it is, but I don't know what it is.
The way you get the secret word is he messaged me on my Facebook account, and that's the way I give it to you.
And that's it there. Right. I don't know. You guys can just click on that. I think it'll take you to Facebook, but that's one way of getting there.
Now I've got a question for Stu. Stu, are you, what about your online sales? Are you running things through eBay, or are you running it through?
I'm running things mostly through eBay right now before I start exploring the online sales. My website should click to my eBay. Should have my eBay store on it. So I've been putting up a lot of eBay stuff this week.
Where can they find that website so that we can get
it? Is hold on, I'll show you my card.
What is he doing?
He's showing his card for the shop.
There it is. You can find it right there at www.1.21gigawattscomics.com.
Yep. Yep. So that's where my store is, and that's where you can get see what's on my eBay as well. And my eBay is also 1.21 gigawatts as well.
Very nice.
Who's this young fellow you got there, Ben?
This is my grandson. He is the terrier that destroys Transformers.
Oh no!
Well, this way you got to have a glass case with a lock on it, and then you can give them all the ones that you buy in the secondhand, like end of line, like just kind of like broken ones or something.
What's red?
Damaged one.
Well, he took to climbing the dresser one day, and he got a hold of my G1 smoke screen, and needless to say, he needed repair after that.
Smoke screen or your grandson?
The smoke screen.
Did he get a bit of rawhide there?
Because it's a show. What was that?
Did he get a bit of a rawhide there?
No, unfortunately, I did not wear him out. He was lucky.
No, but that boy looks like he needs a name.
His Mimi was standing in between me and him. So
that boy looked like he needs a name. I'll call him Chiggers.
Oh yeah. That's cool. Transformers.
Yeah.
All right, Ben. Cool. You got anything to call out?
I'm glad to be on the show. I appreciate the opportunity to talk Transformer and I really, like I said, appreciate this opportunity. So
awesome. Thank you. Yeah. I'm glad. We're glad to have you here. I'm really excited to have you here and learn about all the things that I didn't know about in reference to Transformers, and of course about other toys as well. GoBots. What was the other one that was like Mean Machine or something? Micro Machines,
little miniature cars.
Yeah. So, we did show that Star Wars one last time, didn't we? Machine.
Yeah.
I want to show you something else just in passing before we hand it over to Hook.
Papa, that's my glowing. That's my.
So I don't often have as you guys, some of you guys know, like the other two know that I have issues with my health, so I don't I get worn out very quickly. So I got home on Sunday night after visiting my dinner with my sister and family, and I had this. I actually took this over in a bag for my nephew to put together, and the last one I took over had a couple of pieces missing because I've been buying, like I said, I've been thrift shop hopping, and so I got home and I spent 5 hours putting this together, and then yesterday I spent another 7 hours putting it together. Mm-hmm. This is something I don't do when it comes to Legos, but this is a non-Lego, right? I mean blocks, right? So this is a police SWAT. Oh, let me just pop that up on so I can show you. This took me 12 hours, guys, right? Of this week. 12 hours that I don't have, and like my eyes are not that great because I can't see a lot of the details on things close up now. So, and it was fiddly. This is like, seriously, this is like 35 centimeters long. I guess it's 12 inches or 14 inches. And it came with a whole bunch of little figurines as well. But do you want to know how much I paid for it?
I'm going to roll in and say $45.
$10.
Next one.
$10.
Remember, it's not a Lego, and it was bought at a thrift shop. It came in a plastic bag. $10. Ben?
I'd say 25.
But these are cool.
I changed mine. $5.
So this came in about. Let me
my
see,
hand, 50 cents.
1, 2, 3, about 4 figurines as well. And these are like about $3.99 New Zealand, so it's about $2 US, I guess, $1.50, something like that. However, this entire thing, actually 5 pieces, there's one in here. So it does that, and the guns, they go around. They're loose. They go around. This moves around, and also the tail, does that thing. So it's I kind of think of this as my what is that? What was that? Firefox, right? The helicopter show.
Airwolf.
Airwolf, right? So I kind of think of this as my Airwolf. But it cost me $5 New Zealand. Let me get the right amount in the US dollars here. One sec. Currency conversion. It will be New Zealand to US. $5 is $3.05.
Wait, you mean my $5 bid was the closest?
Yep.
Wow.
So $3 US got me this.
That's a deal, man.
Yeah. And and I'm like, it's just freaking awesome. Like, I mean, like now I can have a helicopter for whatever army, stuff I can get. I think I've got a couple GI Joes around somewhere and so on. But not only that, I think I've got a police van, and there is also the GI Joe. What was that one I had last time, Hawk?
A Havoc. You had a Havoc.
The Havoc, yeah. So
Nice.
that. So if I remember right, I picked this up for about $3 or $4, and thrift.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah. Let me see. Yep.
That's right. And then that's a steal for that thing. I got to tell you, that's a steal for the Havoc.
Yep. And so the front comes off. Am I wrong or am I right? Does this come off?
It does flip up. Yeah.
Yep.
I think Big Stu's going
bucks.
to show off his. There it is. There's the same vehicle.
But I'm sure I didn't pay what you paid for yours, Stu.
He did not. You're right. You're right. Well, this one is I'm selling it for a steal for $60.
Yeah.
At 1.21 gigawatts. Comics, Toys, and Nostalgia.
That's 100 New Zealand dollars for those of you that want to buy it in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So yeah, comes 100% complete with cross country in the driver's seat. Yeah, this is one of my favorite tanks that they came out with. I know a lot of people give it a hard time because of the big glass canopy and all that stuff, but I just thought, I figured this is a really nice tank.
So that's $60 right now if you guys want to buy it from Stu. And like
right.
Hawk said, it's $98 New Zealand. And I'm sure, you guys can work out freight charges if you're interested in going to his store or buying through him. Now, it's at Borger, Texas. Borger, gentlemen. If you're watching over there in the US, ladies, it's Borger, Texas. And I'm sure, check out his website. It's there. And we're going to have Stu with us as much as possible because we like to have our friends with us on this journey that we're on now.
Yeah, man. I like I love being on here. I love talking movies. I love talking comic books and toys. Oh, it's just right up my alley.
So I wanted to show off. This is what I've picked up over the last couple of years with these things, right? So everybody's going away from hard media. I'm not. I'm going running to it. So this is the movie on DVD. This is a series on DVD, right?
Nice.
And then this is the 2 special edition Transformers we showed the other time, because it also comes with the head. Have I got it right? There we go. With the arms and heads.
Is it really a transforming disc player?
Yep.
Well done. Whoever come up with this is epic.
They had Optimus Prime, and I think they had a Bumblebee too.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is
Did you
awesome.
get one of these, Ben?
I kind of
No, I don't have one of those.
I want to go
Uh,
find one of these for myself now because that is completely.
But I think I have it in Bumblebee too, and if I'm not mistaken, maybe a Megatron.
I used to have that when the first movie came out. I got that one.
Yeah.
What would have been even better is if you opened it and on the front of the disc it had the matrix of leadership. You know that whenever you pull the disc out.
So I don't have the Transformers the movie on DVD, but I have GI Joe the movie on DVD. Right, and I have GI Joe the movie on VHS.
Oh, we're moving now, Stu. If you pull out Laserdisc,
but I also have.
Oh, there it is.
Transformers the movie on VHS. As well, I have 2 of these copies. So yeah, proud moment, you know.
I'm kind of hoping my dad's got our original one, the one with the Optimus Prime one.
We're pulling out those DVD collections here.
Now I have the 2005 edition.
Sweet,
nice. Is it the VH? Oh, that's a DVD, right?
Yeah. DVD, yeah. And I even still have the keychain that came with it.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So I actually bought this when I was in Borger, Texas in 2006, and me and Hawk watched it.
Oh,
I bought this like 3 days straight.
Yep.
I bought this in a garage sale about 3 weeks ago.
Nice.
I have that copy, and I have the Rhino Records copy.
Nice.
Hey Stu, with that one there with the VHS, what date release is it? Is it the original release date or with the VHS?
This one's not the original release. This is a 1999. This is a Rhino release.
Right.
So this is a 1999. But this one right here is the 1987 release. So this is the first edition. If you wanted to put VHS into like literature type stuff, like novels. So yeah, this is the first edition.
Yeah, so that means it's worth a bit because we were talking about on an earlier show with vintage VHS collectors now is just like with vinyl,
and that one's in pretty good shape because it's not faded.
Yeah, the artwork's really crisp.
Yeah, I was really proud of this one. This is from my personal collection. I have it in the store so that we can watch it, on VHS and whatnot. So I have this, it's really good. It's just it has the best opening of any animated movie.
Right.
Any animated movie, hands down, has the best opening in my opinion.
Now, since we're back on this, we get to talk about how the G.I. Joe and Transformers animation movies are connected. Yeah.
Yep. We were talking about that today.
Oh, you already did that earlier.
You missed out on that.
Okay.
So what I was thinking is just because you're playing these old tapes on VHSs, make sure your head is clean. But yeah, because over time, moisture gets in it, it actually grabs hold of the tape and can rip the images off the tape.
Oh yeah.
When I was a kid, I used to mess around with videotapes and cut and paste and actually make clips myself of the tapes, join them together, editing and video editing.
Hands down, I still think in about a year, maybe 2 years, we're going to see VHS tapes being sold in Walmart again. VHS or VCRs and things like that. I really think that's going to happen because, for the longest time, for a good, 10, 15 years, we didn't see any vinyl being sold. You had to go to a specialty place to get a vinyl record, of a current artist. And now that's the release that they're going with, other than digital and CD. So I swear I think we're just around the corner from that.
Yeah, I lost quite a lot of my heavy metal, and thrash metal vinyls way back in the day. And if I had those, they would be worth thousands right now.
Oh yeah.
And Justice for All, right? I had the original press on Justice for All. I had a couple. I think might have had a Megadeth one. Just so many. Even the tapes, and they're going to come up. Cassette tapes will come up again, as well, because now with technology, just plug into a USB port in your computer. off your tape. There's a tape player, but the plug is USB, audio to USB, and you're good to go. And I think this is the way, as we grow technology, nostalgia, right? We want what the good times we had in the past, enjoy the medium. That's why I like to buy old media, like DVDs, while everybody's chucking that for $1 or $2 because it's on streaming. But here's the thing: people don't realize they can turn off that switch for those media whenever they want, and you've lost all your whole entire libraries. But when you have it physical, sitting there on your shelf, nobody can get rid of that. Right? Nobody can censor it. Nobody can add some other crap into it, ideology into it.
Well,
next line, because I have the original.
Next week, I'll set my computer up in front of the media room in my store,
Right.
and we'll play it. We'll do it from there.
You can do like commentary, like in-house review as it plays. Now, talking about that, tomorrow, and this is New Zealand time, 5 o'clock in the morning, let me just grab this because I have a very special guest. And that special guest is named Chris Gore. All right, so let me grab that and let me share that so you guys know who this gentleman is. And if you guys are if you have in the past watched G4, right? We didn't get it in New Zealand. Just want to let you guys know over there. We did not get G4 in New Zealand, right? We did not get Attack of the Show in New Zealand. I have this gentleman here tomorrow with me, and I'm so excited for this interview tomorrow. Chris Gore is an outspoken independent cinema entertainment advocate. Filmthreat.com. You can go check out their website. They're advocates for independent cinema. He was a reviewer on G4 with Attack of the Show, I think it was called, and he's just put out Attack of the Doc, which is a documentary on that show recently. And he's I'm just excited to have him here. I gotta be up at 5 in the morning and do this show. I think that's around about maybe 11 in the US, in the Northern Hemisphere. So guys, if you want to know that, click that notify button. That's the only way you will know exactly what time you'll be on. Notification, right? There's a little button there next to live in 38 hours. August, 5 a.m. for me, but wherever you are, when you click that, it'll tell you what time it is for you guys there.
Well, that's pretty awesome. Most people were tuning in to watch Olivia Munn, but I was tuning in to watch Chris Gore.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, like he was telling you straight about whatever reviews, because I've seen some of the reviews. He was like really on, out there. He wasn't holding back on what he was talking about when it came to the movies. So, he's done quite a few interviews, and this is how I got to know him, was from this. Let me drop it here. It is this. Why are 99% of movies?
99% of all movies
garbage today
are garbage.
Yeah.
In an age where I was like, most movies are referred
this
to
is how
as
I found him 2 years
I
ago.
would say that 99% of most movies.
And he's guests on a lot of podcasts.
Bad. I always try to learn.
And over the
when I
last year
say
or so,
99%, I mean of mainstream.
We've got a
it really
very
is when
quick,
you look at,
and it has been going
especially
for
I think one of the best examples
local
of this
independent
is this
cinema
sort of
scene here. Most of our
Zack
biggest
Snyder's
export
Justice
is
League
horror,
and how that was
independent wise, and
bungled.
it's, all over the world.
How that was bungled. How the Star Wars franchise
from New Zealand
was bungled.
and it's quick to
how
make,
they could not.
there's a
I mean, to me, I'm the studio executive in charge of Star Wars, and we're making a new Star Wars movie. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put Han, Luke, and Leia in a scene together. And the fact that moment, we will never be able to have that moment in cinema.
I'm glad to have him.
Carrie Fisher was alive. That to me is.
Can you put him on mute so I can hear you? I can't hear you.
I think is can you hear him though? Were you able to hear him?
Yeah, I was able to hear him, but I couldn't hear anything that you were saying. He was overpowering.
Okay. All right, let me just get that there. So, yeah.
Okay,
sorry
so what time is that going to be again? How do they get to watch this with you?
There we go.
Time.
Jump on at about, click on our Plungecast YouTube channel, right? Please subscribe anyway, and you'll be able to, you'll get when you hit this notification button that says notification on. If you hit that, it'll let you know what time it's going to be on exactly wherever you are living, whatever state you are in. And so I'm looking forward to this because, I have a background of digital media, digital filmmaking, so I'm quite excited about talking film with him, but also about his journey and what he sees where things are going. Now, have I put you on mute or?
Will you be taking questions from the public, Aru?
Yeah, man, I'd love for people to ask questions because I'm going to try to utilize as much of his time as possible, and because I'm quite excited. This is probably as a film person, this is a huge thing for me as independent, especially for the independent scene for New Zealand. Like, I hope a lot more Kiwis turn in. Of course, I mean, they'll be sleeping at 5, but they'll be able to, wake up to it again and watch it later. So, yeah, send in your questions, jump in the comments and ask away, and I'll put them up like we do with everybody else's when we're interviewing. So thank you guys for joining us today. Do you guys want to plug anything else before we finish here?
Yeah, I think it's my turn to jump in, right? So first off, 1.21 gigawatts, go check it out. Big Stu's place. Obviously I want everyone to please back in Credit Girl. We're almost there. We're $100 away from having met our campaign goal. We've got 3 days left. Please go back that. Obviously go to plunge.com and go check out all the goodness that Aru's got cooking over at Plunge. Rising Sun Comics or Rising Sun Publishing Group. You can find our entire back catalog or most of our back catalog in which you can purchase directly from us and we can ship it out to you. If you are local, you can actually find those books in 1.21 gigawatts. So they are set up in his store. Go buy them from Stu. If you are in Missouri, there's actually a couple stores that carry them in Missouri as well. That around the Poplar Bluff area that carry some of our books over there. So wherever you're at, we are probably have a store somewhere near. Just shoot us an email. We'll see if we can't set you up with a store that may be close to you that's carrying Rising Sun books in the shop. We do have some new content and stuff coming down the way. So please go check that out. You can go to our store and you can purchase directly from us as well. What I'd like to say here is a big announcement. So what I've been working on for several years now is Ben Bristol right here below me in this what was that old show with all the squares? Hollywood Squares? Hollywood Squares, right? Ben Bristol below me in Hollywood Squares and Big Stu above me in Hollywood Squares. We've been talks very loosely about bringing back the G.I. Joe review, which is going to be covering some G.I. Joe comic book stuff in a podcast. But we've been talking about getting that together. So hopefully we can still get that idea together and start reading through some comic books together and talk about it. So that's kind of the plan. Do what? I'm set. Say it again, Stu.
No, I'm looking at the cover scrolling, and the cover of the enemy was Shipwreck.
Oh yeah,
Holly, that was funny. I like that. No, I'm all about reviewing G.I. Joe comics and all that stuff. I'm super into that.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a much smaller format than what this is. So we're probably going to be like 30-minute and under shows.
Yeah.
But it's intended just to get a quick review out of the books in which we're reading, what we thought about it, how the story's progressing. Yeah. So we're probably gonna go back and take a look at it. I don't know if we're gonna start with the Marvel run was about half through at that point, but we'll cook it. We'll cook on that some.
Okay. Yeah, we also got to get these guys on here and talk about their books, right? Because we would do it just a review comics altogether, not just G.I. Joe. I just don't have the time to read anymore. So whoever's reading books, get out there and start come on and review them. I don't mind. But so that'd be cool. We'll set it up because it's just so, place everything in one place so people don't have to go run around elsewhere to look for it. There's some really cool stuff coming out, and I'm just so excited. That's you can buy a GMC.
No, I think GMC is defunct now. GMC is no longer in business.
Oh, you're gonna have to pull that down then. Cobra the Command is up at 96 here from the non-profit division of Rising Sun Comics. You got a coloring book from Austin Brooks.
Yeah, that coloring book's a hot seller. I'll tell you what, I can't hold on to any copies of that.
Yeah,
they come in and they go straight out.
So this is the website again before we cruise off. This is risingsunpublishinggroup.com. You can go direct there and get it. Like as Hawk said, hit up your own local stores wherever you are and say, hey, why don't you get in some Rising Sun comics? And give them the link and say, hey, whatever it is. I mean, we want to get our comics in bookstores all over the place. I mean, if you're in Texas, go to Borges and Stu's place and grab some from there. Because we can't let comic stores die out. Because that's, our comics have to go somewhere to continue a life of their own, and places where people can't see them. Like if you're in Kickstarter, you're in Kickstarter, but if you have it in the shops, you get to see it in everywhere, and get that support. So yeah, I will pop out of here now. And is there anything else you want to add on that, Hawk?
No, that's about it. That's everything we've got going on, and I think that please go support that Kickstarter campaign. Where we're at. Okay.
So thank you so much, guys. Wherever you are, thanks for joining us, and look forward to our next toys collecting and unboxing episode next week. It'll be number 6. I think I've got Awesome Brokers on, if I'm right. It's on the 11th in New Zealand. And he'll be talking about whatever toys he's into. Again, we'll have Big Stu on if he's available. And since we're on the last 3 days of our Kickstarter, I'm not sure how we're going to run the last 3 days of promotions on that. So I'll work something out with Hawk to keep you guys updated. But remember, please check out our Kickstarter because, one thing I've been trying to figure out how to work with the algorithm is to see if we complete this before it completes, like we reach our goal before it completes, will it shoot us right to the top, right? Will it shoot us right to the top of the completed? And will that allow more eyes on it real quickly? And will that bring a new eye? So will it get us to reach higher goal than the 1,900 that we put on it? So thank you guys. Thank you for your support. We appreciate it. And I thank my team for working on it. Thank you, Hawk, for looking after the Kickstarter. Thank you, Ben Bristol. Ben, thank you for joining us this morning.
Pleasure.
This afternoon now. Here, so I know it's a 4-hour show. I've never thought we could get to a 4-hour show, but we've got 3 guests, and we've been able to achieve so much. And thank you, Stu, as always, for coming on and showing us what you got there, and all the best for your shop. But we'll see you again next week, Hawk. Carrying on. We'll talk soon. So farewell, everybody. Ka kite anō. Be well, be safe. From down here in New Zealand and wherever you are. Look after yourself. And all the best to your family and yourselves.
Signing out.